We are on. It is the H Hour podcast. It's the H Hour podcast with world famous actor from Slow Horses, not UK, Joey Duffy.
Can I get your autograph?
Mate, I put it in when I put it onto the patrons list. I said, Joe, I put the guest list out. Yeah, Joey Duffy, met him on the set of Slow Horses, PTI, he's out now. Obviously, you're not out. I thought you're out. You're not out. But I do regularly, every time I get a chance, gob off about Slow Horses.
Yeah.
So was that the first?
That was the first time we met, wasn't it?
Yeah, was that the first TV and film thing you did?
No.
What did you done before? Didn't you do? What did you do before?
Black Widow is the first one I ever done.
Yeah, Black Widow. That's what you did.
Yeah, that was my friends asked me about that quite a lot. How did you get into it? And I tell them the Black Widow story.
How did you get into it? Joey?
Well, friends of H Hour. So I was a PTI in Harrogate, just lifting weights and thinking I was cool as fuck. But I think Game of Thrones was out at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to be in the background, swinging an axe.
Yeah.
Just being one of them little White Walkers, like little zombies and that. I was like, that'd be really cool. So I looked into it. There was an agency. It was filmed in Northern Ireland or something. Most of it was done on it. But I sent someone a question. I was like, if you can get to Ireland, you can probably get into it. I was like, no. But they left my details, kept my details, whatever. Then I got an email about 1917. And then it was going around like Facebook and stuff, and they wanted veterans and stuff to do all the scenes. And I went down to there with my mate. My mate was going to come. He chinned me off last minute, so I drove down to Salisbury on my own. I went in there and they don't know your size, and he was like, "Oh, you've already got like a profile on the thing, whatever." I was like, "Cool." And they was like, "Yeah, what we're going to do is we'll get you to come up to the camera, talk to the camera, write the thing down. Just say who you are on the camera, just see how you look on camera." And I was like, "Yeah, sound all right." But there for a couple of hours getting sized and whatever. And then they was like, "Yeah, write my name down." It was like, "Joey, but I've done X, Y, and Z. Spent this that long in the army. Yeah, anything else?" And they were like, "Cool, carry on." And they asked if I could come down to do, if I wanted to be, if I could, when they give you the dates and your pencil, heavy pencil and all that. But I couldn't do it because I was back in work. And I was gutted because I was like, that would have been really cool. And then I got an email and it was like, we want you to be part of this project. Can't remember what the name was. And I was currently, at the time I was in Brecon, I was teaching on an NCO cadre, and then I helped out with the sniper cadre straight afterwards. So I was down in Brecon for about maybe 4 months. And I was like, and it was like, yeah, it's in Wales, in South Wales, this is getting filmed. I was like, I can do that wherever it is.
Where in South Wales?
I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think it might have been near Cardiff.
Mm-hmm.
But was it? I can't remember. But I just remember it was in South Wales. I was like, I'm in Brecon, that's fine, I can make that. So I asked my boss at work, and he was like, can't let you go, we ain't got the staff. It was only for 3 days. I was like, never mind. That turned out to be Gangs of London. And I was like, I've never seen it, but people who are on it and people who've watched it said it's really good, right? And I was like, that would have been cool. Don't know what would have been. And then I got an email and it was like, do you want to be on something called, what was it, Project Blue Bayou? That's what it was. It was called Blue Bayou, I'm sure it was. I was like, what's this? I don't know what that is. Google search, couldn't find anything. I was like, fuck it, I'm on leave now. I was like, yeah, go on then. So anyway, gets to Pinewood Studio. There's like, be there for 1. I get there for 12. All really keen and eager. I've never done this before. Get him, hello, I'm here for this. Signed in, walked in, head towards the gazebo down there. I was like, okay. La la la, get there. I was like, hello, I'm here. They're like, you're really early. Everyone's on lunch. I was like, He goes, there's a coffee shop just back where you were, near the gate, inside the Pinewood. Get yourself a coffee. Come back in about 30 minutes. And I was like, all right. Walked out to the coffee shop. I've just seen the sign, I've walked straight in. People are staring at me. I've walked in. All these people just sat there looking at me. I'm like, fucking hell. So what's going on here?
Why?
I don't know. Went to the barista woman and she's like, what do you want? I was like, can I just get a white coffee? She looked at me as about 2 heads. I was like, what? She's like, eyes twitching and that, white coffee. I was like, what do you recommend? And she was like, this dirty chai latte, say, for example. Just said this mad word.
Nothing wrong with that, mate. Nothing wrong with that.
Said this mad word I've never heard of in my life. And she was like, what milk do you want with that? And I was like, just normal white milk. And she was like, twitching again. I was just like, oh, I don't. On the wall behind it, I had like loads of different coffees, different milks, different type of thing. I'm like, I'm just a normal bloke. Just
straight white. Yeah.
Just give me a cappuccino, you know, whatever. So she gave me this coffee, and it was really nice, to be fair. So I'm sat there, and all these people are still sat there, just looking over the shoulder, looking at me and stuff. I'm like, what's going on here? Anyway, drink my coffee. 30
Green
minutes
room or something like that, was it?
Well, I don't know. I've just walked out, but the doorway I walked out was the same doorway I walked in, and it was actor's entrance above it.
Oh no!
First ever time in Palmer Studio, and just sat there drinking brew. All these actors, and I didn't know who they were. But I walked out of there. It's really randomly. Walk back up to the gazebo, and there's like a guy. He's got like a wife beater vest on. It's all dirty. He's got like long hair. He's got cut on his head. There's all these people walking around him. I'm thinking, who is that? I was like, what's going on here? A bit weird. I got closer to him. I realised it was David Harbour, you know, the guy from Stranger Things, the cop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, walked past him, he's like, hey, man. And I was like, hey, mate. And then it clicked. And I was like, oh, my God. I was like, that's the dude from Stranger Things. I'd just been binge watching that as well a couple of weeks before. But I was like, wow. I was like, that's class. Just met a film star. Just said hello to him. And anyway, I get to the gazebo. Some guy sat there, some AD. And he's like, yeah, you know they are. They're like, yeah. And I was like, man, well buzzing for this. I've never been here before. And he's like, you never been here before? I was like, have you ever done anything like this before? I was like, nah, first ever time. And he's like, you joking? I'm like, no, mate, why? And he goes, you've landed on your feet here. I was like, what are you on about? He goes, you do know what you're in, don't you? And I was like, not a clue, mate. And he's like, oh, you ever seen the Marvel films? I'm like, yeah. I was nerding out going, yeah. Has you seen Endgame? Spoiler, by the way. I was like, yeah, from like 10 years ago. And I was like, he goes, you know what happens to Black Widow, don't you? And I was like, yeah, she's dead. And he's like, well, this is the prequel to Black Widow. I was like, fuck off. I was like, I'm in Black Widow. And he's like, yeah. I was like, I'm an extra in Black Widow. And he's like, extra? You're not an extra, mate. And I was like, what? And he goes, you're task force. And I'm like, yeah. What's the task force, mate? Turns out it's just like the bad guys army.
Yeah.
There's all the SPACT stuff in it. But all the bad guys army and that, and I was just like, this is cool. There's anything I thought I was just going to be like in the background walking around, you know.
Well, that's like what ended up Slow Horses, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
The same thing. That was my first gig. We ended up on the Duffy's docks.
Like,
yeah. I put my name. No, when I said yeah, I could do that. I remember the first dates that we got thrown. So for people who aren't aware, like we're on about like supporting artists work, extra work, and you can get yourself on different databases and stuff. I highly recommend it. 100%. I know you would highly recommend it. It's a bit, if you can, you basically put yourself in a database. You give your location in there. If you've got any specialist skills, you can put that in there. Even from things like, oh, do you know how to box? Do you know how to drive? Have you ever been law enforcement? It's all these random questions. Yeah. Have you ever been a nurse? All these random things, just so if they have specific things to look for like production is looking for, and they go, hey, we need 3 extras. They need to look like they're going to be dressed like nurses and need to look like they know how to be nurses. They're going to be in an operating theatre. Then the company will go to their database and go, yeah, we need extras, nursing experience, and then they get all that matches that, and then you get an email. Anyway, so that's what happened with Slow Horses. But I think the first thing that came up was 3 dates. I'm sure I got given 3 dates for Slow Horses.
Yeah, probably.
And I'd said no to everything else before. All the other, that I'd been getting for like years before. I'd never done anything. And I thought it was only 3 dates. And I was really quiet at work at the time. Super quiet. Like 3 dates. Yeah, I can do that. I'll just take the days off. And then, as you know, 3 dates turned into like, it was a year, was it not?
Yeah.
We were going for a year. I mean, I remember 30 or 40 days over a year. Yeah. Half of those were on set. Half of those were like COVID tests. Yeah. A quarter of them were haircuts.
You got paid so much.
I know, it was crazy.
No, it didn't, tax man.
Such good fun, though. Such good fun. But that was, when did we finish there? That was 2022.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
About that?
2021,
I think, actually, yeah. What have you been doing since? Got 2 degrees under your belt?
Yeah, and a master's.
Oh, gob off.
Yeah, massive debt now, though.
What happened with it? But what happened with the one? What's this about you fucking up a module on? Was this the master's?
That was the business degree.
Right, tell me about this.
Oh, okay, so I was the LCAS. So for those who don't know, LCAS is like the education grant you get. If you served over 8 years, you're entitled to like $6,000 or something, $2,000 a year over 3 years, which is really...
You can use that while you're in, right? While you're still in, yeah.
And it's really terrible, but it's better than nothing, right? So I signed up to a business degree. It's like business and entrepreneurial management leadership or something or other through Northumbria Uni. And I was like, I need that, because my plan was, to give it a bit of context, I, as a PTI, massive advocate for getting injured soldiers back in the game, injured myself, got myself better, you know, that type of vibe. And I was a big fan of it. So I wanted to get out and become a physio. Didn't want to go down the ERI route through the PT core.
ERI?
Yeah, the exercise rehab instructors.
Okay.
Didn't want to do that because you didn't get the accreditation as you would have as a physio. So I was like, right, what do I do? Do I leave and do a 3-year degree in physiotherapy? Or do I do a degree and then leave and do a 2-year master's? And in my head, I was like, doing a 2-year master's is probably more beneficial. I'll save myself some money and I'll have a degree in my back pocket anyway for us to get out. The money I'll get out from the amount of time I've served will cover the 2 years I'll be out of work for, like cover my mortgage and stuff like that. So I had this little plan in my head. So I signed up to the business degree with Northumbria Uni. It was all right. But because it was going over COVID, they said, out of the 6 modules you do, 5 of the modules will be graded. And those 5 will be your average score. And I'm like, sound. I've passed my first 5 modules. I'm now on my 6th module, and it's something to do with like strategy and finance or something really unappealing at the time. So I'm like, yeah, whatever, type it away, minimal effort, put it in. I failed. I got like a 23 out of 100. And I was just like, oh. And they were like, well, you can resit it. I was like, I don't need to. In my head, I've passed 5 out of 6. I'm like, pass now. It's brilliant. So anyway, time goes on. Yeah, you failed your final module. I'm like, yeah, it's not a problem. I've still passed 5 out of 6. Only 5 out of 6 getting graded. Not an issue. The highest 5, that's really the average is coming from. 5 passes in my head. Awesome. A year and a half later, I'm still waiting for my certificate. And I'm in touch with them and I'm like, what's going on? Where's my certificate? You know, paid this money. I've done a degree. And they're like, no, you're not entitled to it. You failed the last module. I was told I only needed to pass 5 out of 6. Oh, you need to show us proof. So it took me ages to go through all the emails and go through like a student success person over the phone and backwards and forwards and stuff. And then in the end, they came to a conclusion to say you were entitled to the highest 5. You get the average from the highest 5 modules, but you need to pass all 6. That was the small print. so I was sat there posting away like, yeah, oh, I don't need to do anything. When in reality, I was like literally just like wasted a year and a half. But it was done over 2 years, so it was all good. But I'm all right. I paid, I think it was like 850 quid to complete the last module, and I've just completed it. So actually Monday next week is when the graduation is, but I'm not going all the way up to Northumbria for it. I'm just getting the certificate sent to me in the post, I hope. But that was the thing. I was just like absolutely really mong, basically. Like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. And that took me about 3 years to get a degree. 3 years after it happened, really. So yeah, that was back in 2021.
Got it now, though, mate. Got it now.
Yeah.
Got it now. What was it like? What was it like studying that alongside work?
Do you know what? It wasn't too bad. It wasn't as bad.
What were you doing at the time?
I was in Cyprus. So I was based out in Cyprus and like...
what, PTI out there?
No, I just platoon sergeant out there, mate. So
what are you doing in Cyprus? What did you do in Cyprus? Sorry, Reg. Like we do things.
Well, we were 25 minutes away from Ayia Napa, so the majority of the time we were in Ayia Napa.
Was it 2-year posting?
Yeah, 2 year. But I only done 1 year because I went on any posting after that.
Well, what's the unit's task? What's the role?
So there's 2 infantry battalions on Cyprus. One's on the west and one's on the east. And it's like 50-50. But back in the Afghan days, and the Herrick days, it was theatre reserve battalion. So I remember that, yeah. That's what they were primarily used for. But there's a lot of like sites and stuff on Cyprus which need manning and security. So there's a lot of those taskings going on. So it's literally notice the move or rotation. But
Bakshi.
Yes and no. It's just time consuming, and you're away quite a bit. But it's not arduous because you're in the sun. I really enjoyed Cyprus. Plus I was there over COVID anyway, so it was a bit different. So it was like not a lot going on when you're not working, but it was decent. But Bod's loved it. 25 minutes away from Ayia Napa in a taxi. If you're a young soldier, single soldier, it's class.
I interviewed a girl. I interviewed a woman. When was it? Would have been last year. a Navy nurse, funny enough.
Mm-hmm.
When I say funny enough, because we were talking about it just now, and she was talking about, we all have our COVID experiences, like where you were for COVID kind of thing. And she was talking about being on ships. She was on a ship for a bunch of months, but she was talking about all the stories of all the people in the Navy who were stuck on ships, mate, during COVID. It was like people topping themselves.
Yeah, I can imagine that must have been absolute shite.
And it was like Lord of the Flies in some of the ships. She said like, depending on what the captain was like and what the head chef were like, depending on what the rules inside the ship was, like on a lot of them, they would have the one way. You're on a ship. Who are you going to catch COVID from? If no one's got it, who are you going to get it from? Do you know what I mean?
My arrows on the floor.
And they'd have the one. Yeah, that's exactly what they have. And she was saying on ships where they had COVID or someone got it, if you got quarantined, like most of the people on there, they'd be in a room with 4, 5 or 6 other people. If you got locked down, your whole room got locked down. So if one of you got COVID, you were all locked down. And it was in basically a room like this, but with just 6 bunks in there. The door get cracked open, food slid in, and I think you'd be locked down for like 14 or 18 days. It wasn't 10, it was longer because of the risk on the ship. And she was saying that if that happened, you'd have rooms where it is in that room, you can't get away from each other. People just start. It's like Big Brother, but shrunk down. And you're on a ship in the middle of the ocean. You know what I mean? And she said it would just get violent. A lot of the time, you just get violent, and sometimes you'd end up having people just fucking kill themselves, mate. Crazy.
I would never have thought about that as well. Like,
I hadn't thought about it, and like you're so naive with things, aren't you? I hadn't thought about it either. She was talking about. I think it was her ship, and they all fine, and they docked or whatever you call it. They pulled up along the coastline. Navy people are screaming at me now. Yeah, they fucking whatever you call it. The ship parked up, and they got let off the ship for a few hours or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know the logic behind that. Or maybe the logic behind was that they were all hooped, and the captain was like, these guys and girls need some time. Anyway, they all let them off, and they got COVID. They came back on, they were locked down for like, fuck it, that was it, mate. Done. Years. She said it was horrendous. She said it was like horrific.
That's horrible.
The stories. Imagine the stories that don't know about. You know what I mean? Locked up in some room with, especially if you don't get on with anyone in that room.
Oh.
You know what I mean? You're in a bunk with just losers. Like, just want to fill everyone in. You're all junior, like some brand new sprog on there, crying because he misses home.
Shut up.
Oh, mate. Hideous, mate. Hideous. Yeah, you don't realise how lucky we got it. It was all right. COVID was all right for me. So you were in Cyprus for COVID?
It's all right for me as well, yeah. We were watching it on the, so we were working as part of, I don't know, Shader, one of the ops. We were just in Cyprus, like, man in their ops room or something. Because we were like the infantry battalion on Cyprus, we get used for quite a lot. But it wasn't like, it's just doing a watchkeeper task, But we were watching it on the news because they've always got like Sky News in the background, haven't they, on one of the TVs on the wall. And it was like, a man in China's eating a bat. It's like, stories developing. And we were just watching it over weeks. And it was just like around the similar time that Iranian general got schwacked as well, wasn't it? So we were watching that, and like blokes just stood to on the runway, and it was just like, what are we going for? Are we Iran, or are we going to fight zombies in China? I don't know, But it was, we were watching it develop, and then I went away in like a little tasking for, I think it was about 8 weeks. A handful of us went over to Jordan. And we got back from Jordan, and when we got back, they locked us in a room because of COVID. And they were like, you had to isolate. And it was just like, why? What's going on? And it's like, the world's got COVID.
Oh, you didn't know what would be going on?
We did know, but it was just, it wasn't, whatever. We didn't think it would be that bad.
Yeah.
Really naive, you just didn't think of it. But then I got back to the UK. When I was in the UK, I had a bit of leave booked, and I was like, I wanted to go to America. I wanted to, like, what I've done now, I wanted to do back then. I was like, I want to go travel for a few weeks, got a few weeks off. And when I got back, big Boris Johnson was like, the UK is now in lockdown.
Well, do you remember people got stuck overseas? Yeah. Remember all that?
Yeah.
Literally, people couldn't get back because we like shut the borders. It was easy enough to shut the fucking borders down, wasn't it? They shut the borders down, and you just couldn't get home.
Yeah.
Because you'd float, the day before lockdown, unwittingly, you'd flown out to Australia or whatever, or some, Timbuktu, mate, some dodgy place. Can't get back. Hideous.
I knew someone who was in Australia and they had to like pay for the hotel they were isolated in and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, imagine that, going to travel and you're like, g'day, mate, pay for this.
Yeah. There's a guy who was working in China. Hong Kong. He was working in Hong Kong at the time, and he would fly out, and he'd fly out for like 6 or 8 weeks. Then he would come back, and he would go out there. He'd be like taxi to the hotel, then into the hotel where work were paid to put him up, but he couldn't leave the hotel. It was like no getting again. It was like food slid through the door. He couldn't do anything. Like peeked through the crack, was spraying down the corridors and all that. Flipping, we forget how mental that time was.
It was still going on for a while as well, wasn't it? Because like a year later, I remember a year later, I was
when we were doing slow horses. That was the end of lockdown.
Yeah,
we were still getting tested. Remember?
Yeah. I was going to say, like, you're going there wearing a mask to take your mask off to breathe in someone's face.
Yeah.
To get tested and then put your mask back on.
Mate, when that started and they started talking about lockdown, I was having a conversation with a friend who was in the TV and in the film industry as well, actually, and we were just chatting about it, and she's like, "Have you heard there's gonna be a lockdown for however long?" And I think, or maybe the lockdown just been called, and I was like, 2 weeks max. Nah, 2 weeks. But she's like, I hear it's going to be a while. Nah, 2 weeks max. They'd be crazy to go further than 2 weeks. I said, because the money they're going to lose, everything's going to go pear shaped. 2 weeks max, mate. Like 2 years later, like brr. Because Australia were in lockdown for 2.5 years. They're not
long time.
It was over 2 years. They had the longest lockdown of anywhere in the world.
Really?
Where they had still places locked down, mate. Yeah, 2 years plus.
Oh, do you know what? Someone was telling me about that. Someone was telling me about the lockdown when I was in Australia. What was it? So they closed the borders down, and when they had the borders closed, what was it? There was like they had it managed really, really well, and there was like no outbreak of COVID. And then, there was like people in hotels and they were getting managed in hotels. When they were clear, they get released and stuff, all that generic stuff. But they were doing it really well. And then all of a sudden, there was like a security guard who was like, she's fit. Went and nailed this bird.
Oh,
he got COVID and sped it round.
That's right. Yeah.
And then that happened again with a limo driver or a taxi driver or something like that. And it was just like they were managing it really well. And then someone was like,
Right. People want to have sex. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. I interviewed a lady called Jackie Malton recently. Did a lot of work in prisons, and she was saying at the moment. Do you remember there was a video came out?
I've seen that.
You've seen that one, the female prison officer.
Yeah, I only seen that the other month though. I was in like,
yeah, it's quite recent. But Jackie was saying that in prisons at the moment, it's real bad for prisoners taking advantage of the prison staff, opposite sex, but both ways. Female prisoners seducing the males and male prisoners seducing the female staff. Like, she's hideous. Real bad.
Wow.
Yeah. But to me, that screams of a lack of quality of the prison staff.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. I mean, I can't imagine it hasn't happened in the past. But to be rampant, and especially these days, getting filmed as well.
Yeah, I know. I'm not even being worried about it. I was just like, when I heard about it, I was like, nah, this isn't real. My mate sent me the link and I was like, maybe it is real.
Yeah, that's 100% real.
Yeah, it is real.
Yeah.
My mate, he was a prison guard. He's not military or anything. He was civvy through and through. And he was a prison. Me and my mate used to live in a flat together. He was both full screws at the time. And there was a couple of civvies in the flat with us. And he was like, oh.
In the same flat?
Yeah, it was like our own home. Like back in the UK, where we live.
But you had FIA?
No. This is like we rent our own place.
You rent your own, right? You rent your own flat. So it's like a 4-man bed, like 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, so back home, away from work.
Yeah.
So we'd go home on leave, and we'd have our own. Me and my mate were from the same town, and 2 of his mates.
Right.
We had a 4-bedroom flat.
I thought you meant FIA initially.
Nah, that would have been weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would have been weird. Yeah.
But he used to work at Asda, and then he applied for the prison service. Got into the prison service. And the best way to describe him, he's a lovely guy, but it's Peter Griffin, just human Peter Griffin. And he came up to me and Ben. Ben's out now, he's a tattooist. But he come up to me and Ben, he's like really weird, strange guy. And he's like, oh, I'm the same as yous now. And I'm like, what? Ben was like mortars full screw. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, me, same as yous, isn't it? You're screws, I'm a screw.
Oh, gosh.
And we were like, no way. And he's been genuinely dead serious about it. And I was just like, and you're a prison guard, mate? And he's like, yeah. I was like, you're going to get walked all over. He only lasted about 4 or 5 months in that job. And he got like medically signed off, which, he wasn't.
Stress or something.
Yeah, I think it's.
Can't be easy.
Nah, because he walked in and someone was hanging. Someone hung themselves.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that tipped him over the edge. But it doesn't help when you've got people with, like his friends who are really dark humoured, and it was just like,
Oh,
yeah. But he,
oh, you guys, you mean?
yeah,
Right,
we're
yeah.
really bad. But, he was like, oh, I tried saving. It was like, who was it? And it was like, oh, like a paedophile or something. I was like, did you not fucking pull on him a little bit harder to get him fucking kill him quicker and stuff? And he was just like, ah. You know, I was like thinking, oh, dark humour is going to make him better, but
Yeah.
it didn't. He was signed off. He couldn't go back into work and stuff. But I couldn't do it. I don't think I could be a prison guard. Especially because not like the woke ideology or whatever, but you know, you've got to be extra friendly to everyone and stuff because the humans. I'd be like, it's not human. It's like mass murderer, for example. You know.
Yeah, but I suppose it depends on which prison you're in, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because there's probably the same benefits in doing that job as there has been in that routine, structure. You know exactly where
no
you
one likes
position.
the Provo, though, do they?
no one likes the Provo. Yeah, but at least in the prison, most people are supposed to be there and have been bad boys. You know, the Provo staff on campus are a little bit different.
Yeah.
But
you don't like them because you don't want to go near them because you get filled in. That's what I was.
Have you ever been in a prison?
I've been in a police cell. It's probably about the closest to prison I ever want to get.
I've been in a cell.
Yeah, I've never been to prison.
I've been in a prison visiting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, visiting.
Glad you clarified that.
Yeah, no, visiting, yeah. I went to, it was a friend who, an ex-military guy who was in a prison, but he was in it was a youth offenders institute, doubled up with a adult prison, but obviously low security place. And I went there and you'd go and visit him, but you'd have, the visiting time it'd be in the same room as the youths were having visits. So you'd be in there, I'd be talking to him. He's like my age, big Fijian dude. And I'd be in there visiting him, and there's like families around seeing their young, the teenage sons or daughters in there are just like scum of the earth. It was weird, right? But it was almost like a parents' evening kind of thing, but not quite. It was a bit rougher. Yeah, weird places to go through all the security checks and all that, like you see on TV, is quite.
But you see in the prisons, they're smuggling stuff in all the time, aren't they, as well? And you're like,
it's the prison guards. You can't get it in otherwise. It's the prison guards, or it's just bad. But I mean, on the like where he was, that'd be easy to smuggle stuff in.
Yeah,
we were getting searched, but not like rigorously. You know what I mean? You go in with a bag, and there'd be loads of us queued outside. Like I said, there's like parents there going to visit the kids, and you go and you have to take your bag, look inside the bag. You could go in with bags, you know, and they have metal detectors and all that, and they had all the what do you call it, airlock type.
Yeah, do we stand in?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So you could get stuff in, but in the prisons where it's higher security, it has to be the guards.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's got to be.
You've seen the video. You've seen the video of the security guard at football, and he's like, when he's checking people over, and he's just stood there and just moves his hand. That's what I imagine it's like.
Yeah, so good, so good. But have you done much security work? You've done a bit of security work, haven't you? I thought you had your license.
No, I've not got SI. I've not done security. I used to work on the dockyard before I joined the army. That's probably what I was
on the dockyard.
Yeah, I used to work on the.
Where?
I was on Portsmouth Dockyard. I was
really.
They called it. What was it? They called it a first attack firefighter. Basically, it was a glorified person mode fire extinguisher. I was on the aircraft carriers and they're getting renovated. Or renovated, is that the right word? Refitted.
And, renovated.
There's always like a flood or like a well.
Plush interior. Velvet.
We made the rooms look amazing, ready for COVID. There was.
Hang on. So before you joined up?
Yeah, when I was 18, I worked on. I joined when I was 20. So when I was 18, I worked on a dockyard, and I used to sit there like proper like course. I had to go on like breathing apparatus and use a hose, and it was like proper legit.
You were a firefighter on the dockyard.
Yeah, so it was.
How did you end up doing that then?
So I worked as like the normal generic security guards when you put this person's gone on the boat, I'll move his card into there, and then when he comes off, I'll move it off. And it was just like checking people's passes going on and off the boat. I started off like that. And then I just seen this guy and he was like, oh yeah, I'm a firefighter. And I was like, wow. But it wasn't like a real proper like 999 firefighter or anything. It was like a booksy little course you do. And you contain anything until the actual real firemen turn up. And it was cool though. I got to wear like breathing apparatus and run up and down some metal stairs thinking I was cool as fuck. I was like 18 years of age. Drag dummies out of stuff. But I think I seen one flood and one welder's fire in the space of like 9 months I was there. So
that sounds like op fresco. Were you in for op fresco?
No.
When did you get in?
2008 I joined.
Okay. Oh, did you? All right, so 2002,
Yeah.
the end of 2002, when we should have been doing a beat up for the Iraq invasion, we were doing Op Fresco,
Was
which
it the
was
Green Goddesses? And
the firefighters went on strike, and oh my god, yeah, the firefighters went on strike, and they broke out the Green Goddesses for us, like 1950s vehicles.
I remember
You ever
that.
mate, those things. What an absolute joke. To think that they bothered kitting us out with it. And to think they were made in the 40s or 50s.
I've probably still got them somewhere in storage for.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I reckon they've still got them now. 20 years after
Yeah.
Op Fresco, and they were terrible. They were that bad that, well, the hoses off them were literally like a garden hose times 3.
Yeah.
You know, like a little, like times 3 in the
thicker,
press.
yeah.
That's how bad they were. And they were like brass contraptions on there, super shit. And you get on the road, and the max speed was like 32 mile an hour, 33 mile an hour. Like they
Wow.
were that bad, mate. Horrendous. And then,
By the time you got there, the place is burned down.
yeah, exactly. No, that literally happened. There was call outs that happened. I remember there was one on Canby Island because we were based out of a TA centre in at the time it was called TA centre in Brentwood.
Yeah.
And we were going from Brentwood to Canby Island, and literally on the way there, they're like, "Yeah, turn around." It's like, it's gone out. This isn't bother. All right, we'll turn around. It's just a clusterfuck, mate.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and the joke of it was we'd have the police accompany us as well. So you'd have like, remember the old Volvo T4s? The
Yeah.
T4 police cars. Well, they were the rage at the time, the T4 police cars, mate. They were like so mega, so quick. You'd have like a Volvo T4, mate. Like, I end up in the back of that, and I would do the map reading for some reason. I don't know why they needed a map reader in the back of a police car, but they would just like be behind a 30 mile an hour goddess, mate. We're just a fucking joke. It's embarrassing. Totally embarrassing. Everyone hated it. Camp Cots in like a sports hall, up fiasco. Didn't that happen recently for the firefighter strikes?
Couldn't
No,
tell.
they threatened it, didn't they?
Did they threaten
They were
it?
talking about it. They were talking about.
I know the
backfill.
last time they were threatening stuff, there was during the pension issue, wasn't it? It was quite a few years ago.
Yeah. Well, then in 2002, I think it was just a pay rise. They just wanted to pay. I think
Really?
it was just a pay rise.
I'm glad
But it was
they
the
done
worst
though.
timing. It was because like the Iraq, we knew the Iraq invasion was coming, and the firefighters were like, stop all your prep,
Different types of firefight.
get out the goddesses. We're going on strike.
Your helmet on. Keep your helmet on your head.
Yeah.
But no, that's like as close to security I'd done. But
What's the most boring task you've done when you've been in? What's the worst, most boring task you've done? You're thinking through a list of now, aren't you?
I had to secure. I was only a bod. I had to be part of like a HLS, but we had to secure a HLS inside of a camp that was already secure, and it was just like what? But it was in Iraq. Did you have the Shiba log base when
Yeah.
that got closed down? It was still used as like a MIT location.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So we went because I was on the last tele.
That's a what location?
Like a MIT or it was like something like military transition or something like
Okay.
that. So when they were handing everything back over or whatever. But we were inside of an Iraqi camp. We had our own camp inside of an Iraqi camp, which was inside of the big Shiba log base, which was just like a skeleton now of. I never saw it when it was as big as it was, but like it still had the runway there and stuff. But every time there was like a delivery of something or a person, a helicopter come into land. One of the little Lynxes, for example, will come in and say, you need to go and secure a HLS. Why are we securing a HLS? There's already a HLS. Yeah, but you need to secure it. And I get why they used to get it, but we used to just stand there and just get battered by the downdraft every time.
What we're doing, just keeping morons away from accidentally walking on and driving on the HLS, is that it?
Or the Iraqis would get the Nokia 3310 out or whatever they had back then and was like filming it. He was like, please don't film while they're on the other side of their HESCO in their camp. And you're like, yeah, make sure they don't film. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll just go over and take the phones off them. Shall I behave?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was boring. Or something simple like mopping the sheds when it's raining outside and people are walking in and out of the sheds and you're like, this is a never-ending task. But the majority, 99% of the time in the army is a boring task, isn't it? No one ever talks about the boring times. They always talk about the fun times.
Yeah, I think at the minute, 99.9% of it is boring.
Back when you were, I don't know, this is like, warmongering, but when you were training for something, it always felt as if it was like, oh, it's decent. You were on that 2-year cycle, ready to go and deploy or go in ops or something. But now it's just like, I guess it's just boring.
Yeah, it is like, it must be horrendous. When I joined in 2000, it was I didn't realize at the time, in hindsight I know now, is like that was like the peak of bored army, bored military, bored, fed up, uninspired military. You know, you had Gulf One, which happened in what, 1990, 1990, 91,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Before that, you had the Falklands. Like, apart from those two big conflicts, you had very small things. You know, very small. Bosnia, the whole Kosovo, that whole thing going off. There was a couple of other tiny things going on. So it was just a shit place to be. Like, everyone was miserable until 2001, September 2001, and all of a sudden things got really, really exciting. And I feel like now it's like kind of the same thing. We peaked in terms of operational tempo, you know, through the noughties into the early, into early teens, 2011, 2012, 2013, and then when Afghan tailed off, Iraq tailed off, again it goes into this lull period where all the people who knew that time and got experience, most of them have left.
Yeah.
And so you've got like an attrition of really experienced, really capable people who should be rising to the ranks, but they've binned it at like Lance Jack, Screw, Sergeant, Colour Sergeant, or Sergeant Major. They've gone. And so you have this vacuum. Well, you know, because you joined at that time with the peak. So you'll have seen both sides now. And now you've got this vacuum where you've basically got Joe bags, inexperienced people who can often be yes man, getting promoted real quick. And then you've got inexperienced people who never experienced anything proper, and all of a sudden they're running the show, and that turns into cake and ass sandwich for everyone.
So I was thinking that when you were saying that. So there's people, and I don't mean this in any bad way whatsoever, because you can't blame someone from joining when they joined when nothing's happening. But you've got people in the like the science mess now who've never deployed, which is not a bad thing. It's not their fault. You know, but then there's people who whinge about that, going, there's no experience in the mess or anything. There's no experience anymore. All the experience is gone. I say, well, what do you expect them to do? You know, it's not anyone's fault. But I mean, that vacuum is like, I'm quite fortunate because my job roles over the last like 5 years, I've stepped away from normal traditional soldiering because I've been milking the job. But the people who are still working and that, they must experience. I was in depot, you know, and the stuff I was getting through depot is like different to what it was when you first joined and stuff like that as well. So, but then the people who are teaching them are the same people who are taught by people who are in that vacuum now, you know. So it's not my place to say, but I'm sure it's worse now because nothing's happening. But then, are we building up to something at the minute? What's going on in the current climate? Who knows? In 5 years' time, is the experience going to be back again? I don't know. It's a weird dynamic, isn't it?
It is weird. And like you say, it's not people's fault. It's like it's unfortunate to join up, but I can see you can see it. I can see it now. It's like why people get so miserable. I would not want to be in now. Like, I don't envy you. I would not. Well, you're different. You're basically taking control of your career and you're doing what you want to do.
Exactly.
Which fucking most people can do. They just don't realize it when you're in. But for everyone else, like you say, they'll be in this cycle of bullshit task, bullshit exercise, and even those things, there's no spark to them because, like you say, the people who are running those things, the people who are the role models, don't have their own. Most of them don't have their own first-hand experience, so the element of realism is taken away, the emotional investment in it is taken away. It's hard, you know. It's
that's like that in any job, though, isn't it?
Yeah, like the high operational tempo is double-edged sword. Like, people get killed and injured. Families get real miserable when their sons and daughters don't come home. But at the same time, it's really great to be in the military at that time. It's so good. It's so good, you know.
It's a tough debate, that, as well, isn't it, when you think about it? This is like, you join the army because you want to do something, but then you're like, I've gone and done something, and just everyone else around me is like distraught and destroyed, for example. So it's a really, really extreme example, that, to be fair, but it's just like, so I'm all right. I've had my fun. Now I'm focused on what I want to do when I leave. So when they're like, so for that example of there's a vacuum, I'm like, there'll still be a vacuum when I leave as well. So
yeah. Did you on the degrees that you've done? So you've done your business. You've done business and psychology and what else?
I've done a degree. I've done a BSc in, it's basically sports rehab. It was sports injury and treatment. Is
that so? Doing those things, and you've touched on, you've done quite heavy in some of them, I suppose, on leadership and management, right? And leadership and management and building a culture, growth mindset, what's the word? High performance culture. Has doing that stuff changed your views on the way the army leads?
Not just the degrees, but I've done a few other things alongside it. I've done a few like coaching and mentoring courses as well outside of the army, and to see how normal businesses do their coaching and mentoring compared to the army. It's a little bit weird. It's a bit different, but I guess it's all like,
in what way?
The context of behind why you're doing it. So the old carrot and stick method, it works well in the army, but only at certain times. But then it works well everywhere else, only in certain times as well. So I'm not an advocate for like being harsh and like physically or mentally being abusive, basically, to get stuff done. Like, for example, look back at the army 100 years ago. If you weren't doing as you're told, you were getting shot, right? It's not like that now. I know that, but it's not the right way. But that was the right way back then compared to what everyone thought. Now that the best way I could probably explain it is, from my understanding, is the generation of people coming through now, you can't instruct them or expect them to learn the same way our generation did going through training. So the way that the leaders are now are, I guess, much better when it comes to instructing people. For an example being, I've, since doing the courses and stuff, I've understood that people respond differently to different styles of leadership and different styles of teaching. But beforehand, I didn't know that, because I've always thought that what I was shown in depot is the only way that works. So that's what I'm trying to get at. It's a long-winded way of explaining. The more stuff I've realised, the more I've developed and been able to grow as a leader myself. Not to say that I'm a great leader, but I kind of get the concept and the dynamics of what makes a person better, by leading them the right way or the best way. But it's all context dependent. It's all situational dependent as well. And I think if you get a really good blend of that mixed in, you've got a good opportunity to become a good leader yourself. Yeah.
Depot's training's predominantly repetition, right? And I kind of understand why that is the case, and it's probably the same reason that a lot of, like, most schools have been up to this point. The same kind of methodology, teaching methodology, is because am I right in saying that is the one that most people are most receptive at in terms of learning? They're able to learn best when they're exposed to repetition of whatever they need to learn. I think that's the most common.
It's kind of like more, it sticks in the head more type. I can't remember the word for it, but it's, once you see it more and more, it kind of sticks in, I guess. But on that as well, like, I'm a big fan of letting people fail, not fuck up, but fail. I think there's a little bit of a difference. So
what's the difference between fuck up and fail?
If you, let's say I'm getting you to do a task and you do it really, really badly, and I watch you do it badly the whole way through.
You've worked with me before.
Let's think about slow horses. You know, when you were trying to put the body armor on or something like that and you were struggling. But if you let someone do it for so long, they're just going to fuck up and make a fool of themselves.
Yeah.
If you stop them beforehand and before they get to that point and talk to them and see if they understand why they're going to fail or how they're going to fail and what they can do better and get the answers from them, I think it goes a long way, rather than letting someone fail, telling them the shit and telling them to do it again, rather giving them the opportunity to let them understand why they failed or why they're going to fail and what they could do to make it better. I'm a big fan of that, like explaining why things are not going the way or why things are happening. That's what I've found over the last few years. People respond more and react more once they understand what's going on or why it's going to happen that way.
Yeah, the problem with the military is I don't think you've got that much time to...
That's the issue.
To put into teaching people in different ways, right? And everything you do is supposed to be done as a unit, whatever that size of the unit is and whatever level you're at, you know, from a fire team up to, I don't know, company, battalion, brigade, whatever. So it's challenging. But...
It's like a coaching and mentoring piece as well. I like let other people coach and mentor each other. So like peer on peer stuff. I'll use recruits as an example. If the recruits have got an issue, I'll let them coach each other. And if they're still not sure on what's going on, then they'll come and ask for help. but I wouldn't do that all the time. It's just in their own time, and then learn that they can coach each other and mentor each other in all the different little ways and stuff. And I think that works really well. And then that way you kind of like tick all the boxes at once, where you've done a select style of teaching and you've got like the majority of people, and then the ones who haven't got it, they can learn from each other. So when it comes to doing the task, they're not going to fuck up as much as they would do normally.
Yeah, that probably works better for when you're dealing with people who are all in the same boat in terms of exposure to something new. But I don't think. Have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen it in practice in like in a senior NCO mess, for example?
No.
Or in screws, anything like that. You wouldn't see it there, would you? Too many egos at stake. And
that's the thing as well. It's like there's too many right ways of doing stuff in their own little mind, isn't it? What's the old thing? Too many chiefs and not enough Indians, or too many cooks and not enough chefs and whatever. But yeah, egos is a good way to describe them. Those sort of stuff.
Did the psychology degree meet your expectations?
Nah.
No?
Yeah. Do you know what? No, because I thought it'd be more specific on certain things, but because the masters was like, it was a combined. If you were to do a 3-year degree in psychology, it's exactly the same as doing the 1-year masters, but it's just condensed into 1 year, because the way psychology works is you get the basic psychology degree, and then you go and specialize after that. So you can go and do like clinical psychology or sports psychology or neuropsychology, educational psychology, whatever, but you still need to do the foundation of psychology itself. So that's what the masters was. It was just a condensed 1-year version of a 3-year degree. So it's hard, fast and aggressive, but at the same time, it catered for all the different subjects of psychology. So I really enjoy like the mental health of psychology, the aspect of that, or like the neuropsychology aspect and more intricates of the brain. Whereas there were some modules on education or occupational psychology and stuff. So that's what I mean by it didn't meet my expectations, because I thought it'd be more shifted towards whatever you wanted to do. It was great. I'm glad I'd done it. The delivery of how we taught it wasn't as good as I expected, but overall I learned quite a lot. But now I'm looking at, so because of that, going off on a tangent slightly, I'm looking at doing another course through either Warwick Uni or UCL. They both do the neuroscience of mental health, neuroscience for mental health, and you need a psychology-based degree to do that, I believe. But that's the avenue I'm looking down towards. So I'll be going in towards like the mental health bracket of psychology.
With what intent? What are you looking at doing long term?
So my business, what I really want to do is focus on using exercise as like an intervention to help, not cure, but help manage and treat mental ill health or some aspects of poor mental health in some people. I want to, not to say that, a gym's going to make you feel better all the time, but I kind of want to focus on towards that, make people fitter, but at the same time make people happier.
Yeah, which is, I mean,
it's just a really simplistic way of saying.
No, it's a no-brainer. It's like, I know what you're saying. It's like, it may not make you happier, but even just a single gym session or regular physical exercise sessions, but at the very least, they reduce the likelihood of you getting ill. Mentally,
exactly.
It's one of those pieces of the puzzle where,
excuse me,
your mental health and mental and physical health and well-being, this whatever state that is dependent on a bunch of different factors, external that you can't help, and then you got the things that you can control, like what you put in your body, what you do with your body, what you put in your body and what you do with your body, and then you obviously got the genetic side of it, but the physical health for me has been a big. I think we pay lip service to it. Well, I certainly do when I was in. You get into a cycle of doing physical exercise regularly because we have to, right? It's literally our job. Part of our job is to stay fit and be capable for battle, right? And then when I got out, in fact, when I was in, I realised that if I had extended periods of leave, long leave, and I say long, being 3 weeks or more, if I didn't do anything on those 3 weeks,
short leave that.
Yeah, if I didn't do anything, well, summer leave's 3 weeks, isn't it? Yeah, 3 weeks. Yeah, if I didn't do anything on that leave, then I would feel myself get it. My brain would be less sharp. I would be grumpy. I wouldn't be as positive, and that the only reason was because I wasn't doing as much physical exercise as I was before. And I noticed that I was in, because you go through a cycle of being in camp or whatever for ages, and you have leave, don't do anything, you go, fucking hell, I was miserable there.
Yeah.
That's when I first started making the connection between physical exercise and mental health. And as time goes on, like now it is literally, I'll train anywhere from sort of 3 to 6 or 7 times a week. And the main reason I do it is to maintain my mental health. As in, to maintain, in fact, I'll rephrase that. I'll be more specific. The main reason I do it is because I know I'm more resilient when it comes to managing stressful events, if I am fit than if I am not. If I've done nothing for a couple of weeks, and if I've eaten like shit for a couple of weeks, if I get hit with a stressful event, that could be being asked to do something really difficult and time consuming at work, right? It could be a relationship situation. It could be any one of these things that are really stressful events. My ability to handle those is so diminished if I have not been keeping up my fizz. And then going even deeper still on it, when I say keeping up with the fizz, I mean challenging myself and making things hard for myself.
Okay.
It's not like go for a walk every day.
Yeah.
Like that would help, but it's at least, 2 or 3 times a week, do something that really, really fucking challenges me. I find really difficult. Sometimes that can just be going to the sauna for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Or just go in the sauna, because I always find it hard. I always find it hard. And the sauna actually now I use that is my like weather vane for how resilient I am for stress. So if I was to go into the sauna tomorrow morning, I would know depending on how quickly I would find it really hard.
Yeah.
Because it gets to a point where I'm in there and I'm arguing myself. In my head, it's like, it's time to go. You need to get out now. You got stuff to do. You need to get out. And I know full well I've got nothing to do.
Yeah.
Because when I've gone into the sauna, I'm like, there's no excuse than to get out after 20 minutes. You've got nothing to get. But I get in there, 10 minutes in, or whatever time it starts getting hard, and I'm arguing myself. It's like, fucking hell. And depending on how quickly that argument starts, it indicates to me how much stress my body's under. Maybe I'm picking up an illness. Maybe I am just being an absolute creature for a couple of weeks. And sometimes it can be 5 minutes, 6 minutes in. And if that happens, I know like, wow, there's something bothering me here. I got to get on top of something. When it's like that, normally what it is I'm just not being organised. And there's something that I know I need to do that I'm putting off, which is challenging. And having that weather vane kicks me into get a grip of yourself, identify what it is, and deal with the problem. But physical fitness, challenging myself, because it's like one of those. If you got people who go through life and everything is easy, which is everyone. If we wanted to go through life, everyone can go through life these days, and it'd be fucking easy.
Yeah, I agree. Really
easy. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to work. You can get money from the state. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to do anything these days. And you go through life, everything's really easy. When something problem happens, you ain't going to handle it very well. And you ain't going to live very long either.
So that's the key thing between resilience and exercise though, isn't it?
Go on.
So for example, you going into the sauna and 5 minutes into the sauna, you're like, oh, I forgot to put my phone on charge. Oh, I best get out and put my phone on charge.
That's a shit excuse. Yeah.
But you don't get out. And then the next time you go in the sauna, it may be 10 or 15 minutes until you say that. You're just building resilience. I know it's a really simple example of that, which is great because you know it as well. But you know as soon as that voice comes in your head, like the crow beast sat on your shoulder, innit? So, close your eyes quickly.
Yeah.
You'll be all right. And it's just like you're training yourself to be more resilient to that. But then when you start training, so you said you could train between 3 days or even 7 days a week just to improve your own mental health or your own concept of what your mental health is. You're training your own resilience as well because you're going to the gym and improving yourself. And you said you want to challenge yourself every time by making the fizz sessions harder. Then when you do, I guess I'm only speculating, but when you do get into a bit of a rut in your own mental health, you know full well, you're like, well, if I go to the gym, I'm going to feel better. I'll go to the gym, I'll train, you feel a little bit better, and you're like, I feel a little bit better now. But then when you look at it from a different point of view, it's like, it's your resilience that's making you feel a lot better as well. The reason I'm saying this is when I was doing my dissertation as well, I focused on resilience versus physical activity as part of one of the study concepts. And it's like, if you were to train yourself that little bit more each day, you improve your resilience. The more resilient you are to something, the easier it is you're going to overcome something. And then the more chance of you overcoming something, the less chance you're going to slip into a bit of a rut with your mental health, because you feel stronger mentally and physically. So even though you're in the sauna and you're telling yourself, oh, do you know what, I've got to get out, but you're not going to, and you know you're going to you're going to tell yourself to stay in, and you're going to overcome it anyway. It's just proven
sometimes.
That. Yeah, sometimes. It's like me coming here today. I talked myself into it. I sat in the tube, I was like, do you know what? I'm joking. But I really do like the comparison of mental resilience and mental health through physical activity. Just going back a step, when I was looking at, so my dissertation was on, my dissertation for my master's was on physical exercise or physical activity and its effects against general anxiety disorder, or just anxiety in general. And then also for my rehab degree, it was like the physical effects of exercise on mental health. So I've always been interested in mental health and exercise in general. And I found the research out there already says that we all know some exercise will make you feel better. Therefore, if you feel better, your mental health is going to improve. Now, it looked at aerobic exercise, which is like walking and running, like just moving in general, has more effect on your mental health because of the release of endorphins. You know, the happy chemicals are going to make you feel better. It releases the chemicals in your brain to make you feel better. And doing that over a longer period of time works, according to the science. But I only done a short study over 6 weeks where I tested people going to the gym, strength training, using an assault bike, for example.
How did you test them?
I just asked them just general questions. I'm like, what do you train? How often do you train? How do you feel before? How do you feel afterwards? And then they'd done that again in 6 weeks, and they just compared the results. But it wasn't good enough. The results weren't good enough to say that X, Y, and Z equals this, because it needed to be done like a longer period of time. So like a longitudinal study to get more and be more invasive with questions and stuff. But I didn't have the time or this is like a PhD level stuff. My supervisor was like, this would be really good for PhD. So if you do this now, if you want to do this in a PhD, you've got a good setting, good standard. And I'm like, infantry, I'll just do this for now and I'll think about the others later on. But it was saying that if you were to do that over time, and then you were to test how you feel after every gym session and compare it over a certain amount of time, you might see some improvements in mental health. But there's like so many different types of physical exercise and physical activity you can do to improve how you feel. The question was asked, does that mean that your resilience is improving? And is your resilience the reason why your mental health's better? Does that make sense?
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I don't go to the gym, or I do different things. I don't go and do my physical exercise with the intent of, oh, I'm going to do this to make myself feel happy afterwards. I view it all the things truly holistically.
Yeah.
So when I say all the things, I mean there's all these things I think I need to do, or be aware of, that I can influence, that predominantly define what my mental state is.
Yeah.
Right. And I say predominantly because the stuff I can't control, that's external factors, right? But everything within my control I can. So and mainly it is diet, sleep, exercise, and where I can routine. Routine has always been a nightmare for me for the last God knows how many years, because life.
Yeah.
And but I can absolutely influence diet. I can absolutely influence exercise, and I can absolutely influence sleep. And so, in my mind, they are all things I have to concentrate on, not rigidly. Like, I have cheat days. I have too many cheat days. But the mere fact that like diet is high in my mind, and I try and eat well, my understanding of well, as much as I can, that's good enough for me. Right? And that influences my mental side. I go, yeah, you're doing the right thing generally. Never mind the massive bag of fucking Doritos I did tonight. You know, you're doing the massive tub of ice cream. You know, you're doing the right things generally. It's like, because it's like it's also knowing that you're doing the right thing, even though it's not the easy choice.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to eat shit all day. I would eat Pringles all day long. Pringles, Doritos, ice cream, all of it. You know, pizza,
Same time.
all the bread in the world, mate. Yeah, all at the same time, like a massive cake. And the same on the sleep. Half the week, probably it's not practical for me to get 8 hours kip.
Yeah.
But that's my gold standard, 8 hours kip. But if I'm trying to do that, if I'm not sitting down and watching a movie or whatever until late at night, when I don't need to do that, I'm getting to bed early, that's good enough. Even if I'm getting up early next morning, it's okay. Because I'm still prioritizing sleep, just not hitting the gold standard. And then the same on the physical exercise side. And then all of those things, if I keep plugging away at them, just maintain them in my mind, and maintain attention on them as much as I can, as well as everything else in my life, maintain as much attention as I can, they're sort of incremental sort of, no, it maintains the pillars of that, holds up the foundation of what my mental health is.
Yeah.
Right. And also, I'm probably going to live longer than I would do if I wasn't doing it. You know, touch wood, I'll get cancer tomorrow. and yeah, I mean, that's how to look at it. I think, people look too much on the microscopic level at these things. Like, I'm going to go to the gym because I need to feel better. They go to the gym, they're feeling like shit. They go to the gym and they come out. Maybe they're not feeling better. They're not. But it's definitely had a positive impact on you. You know, or you need to get out 8 hours kip, but you really struggle to get to sleep. Get into bed. Try and get 8 hours kip, but at least you're in bed resting. You know what I mean? As miserable as it is, and do a bit of reading maybe, and then get up next day, but you've sort of gone and tried it. And the 20-minute target in the sauna, I'm rarely hitting that these days. Rarely hitting it. I go in there trying.
That's the
really
best.
trying, mate.
At least you've gone in. You've actually gone in and closed the door behind you.
I'm really trying. There's been a couple of times over the last month, it's like 5 minutes. I'm just, you fucking loser. You absolutely can't. I'll be sitting there, I can't believe I've given in to myself. I can't believe it. And getting out,
only losers are sitting here. I'm getting out then.
I tell you what I found really surprising when I was first exposed to it was cold water therapy.
Okay.
It's heat shock therapy, isn't it? Hot and cold. Cold water therapy. Or cold water dips. And I went, there's a lady, you into cricket? There's a famous cricketer called Dan Goff. I ended up getting introduced to his wife when I interviewed her, but she does cold water therapy basically, and like meditation and all that. At a very nice, their very nice home down over at I can't remember, where is it? Anyway, you know, it's very wag kind of thing. Like, want to do something, cold water therapy, meditation in the man cave at the end of the garden. Perfect. I went down there and I got an ice bath there, and ended up doing like 5 or 6 minutes in there, and it was pure pain for the first 30 seconds. I mean, pain in my joints. And I knew where the pain would come from. I'd done it before with a friend, like in a river in South Wales, and he was doing it. Got in, and my wrists and my ankles were killing me.
Really?
Yeah, killing me, man. And it still happens now. But the difference is now I know it's going to disappear.
What you were going to say still hurts now.
No. But the difference is now I know that it's going to disappear.
Yeah.
After 30, 45 seconds, that pain goes, and I actually get quite comfortable. But I don't know what it is about it, but I find it quite enjoyable. I like being there when I get comfortable with it, and I've the fucking panic breathing that I'm trying to control. I've got that down baseline. Go, okay, I'm here. Okay, it's okay, going okay. And then it must mainly just be challenge. I'm here. I am taking the pain. You know, like that proper man stuff. I mean, you're taking the pain. I can do it. Yeah, like Wim Hof. But then they get out, and sometimes it's super dizzy. Sometimes it's pins and needles. But it's a different sensation to the sauna. But I think they both have the same effect.
They would do.
With the exception that cold water therapy is not good for immediate post-exercise, is it? They used to think it was, and now
it's not, because it's like a vasoconstrictor. So just
whereas the sauna is good.
Yeah, because it opens everything up.
Yeah.
So funny you say that on that cold water thing. I was listening to. I'm doing a course at the minute where a thing called Red On. So Mike Chadwick, right? So him and a few others, they've got that Red On group. Ash Cox, you know. So he's a doctor, PhD. I think he's
Ash
like
Ash Cox.
Yeah. So him and a few others, they're doing something called Red On Uni, and we're basically doing a year-long course, and we get accreditation from it. But it's becoming a better coach, but understanding the science behind not just coaching, but the why you're coaching certain ways, what you're getting them to do, X, Y, and Z. It's like strength and conditioning on steroids, basically. It's really good, but it's really informative as well. He released his first podcast about a week ago.
Who?
Ash Cox, and it's all about cold water therapy.
Oh.
But it's not called cold water. It's something, what's the phrase? Anyway, it's about cold water and what it does, like post exercise and certain exercises. But they were saying it's not great for endurance, but it's
what when you say it's not great for endurance? What do you mean?
So it's not great for if you just use cold water therapy as a form of losing weight. It's not gonna.
Losing weight.
Yeah, so you'll go in and it's like, it makes you lose weight quicker if you use alongside exercise and diet and stuff like that.
Does it?
Well, no, it doesn't.
Oh,
but
I've never heard that.
But if you were doing stuff like, so for example, high rocks training, like everyone's into high rocks at the minute, aren't they? Oh,
it's the new CrossFit, isn't it?
Well, I'm just going to say you're going to trigger a few CrossFitters. If you say it's the new CrossFit, they're all like, no, they don't do functional work. It's running with some stuff, but I don't know. It looks fun. Everyone's doing it.
It looks nails, yeah.
Everyone's ripped who they do it, so I'm like, I might try it next year. Probably won't. But he was on about like cold water therapy and the things like the positives and negatives and for certain other stuff. And I'm pretty sure it was like endurance training. It either works or it doesn't work for endurance training, but then compared to something else, it does, just because of the, when you get in straight away, after exercise, your muscles still need the dilation, so everything needs to be opened up with the warm and stuff. If you get in the cold, it's just going to constrict everything. It's not going to, it's good for endurance, but it's not good for bodybuilding. That's because you need the muscle fibers and stuff to still be open and let all the blood go in, vasodilate. But a friend of mine runs a charity down in Portsmouth, called Man Mind, and he does that Wim Hof. Man Mind. Yeah. And it's a men only thing in Portsmouth. Every Sunday they go in the water and they get in the sea. And I went along once a couple of weeks back, with another mate of mine, and they go religiously every single Sunday and they get in the water, and they were in the water for like 12, 13 minutes. And I was in the water with them, and I was like, I'm freezing cold. But after about 2 minutes, I was so warm, and I was so happy. Everyone was in the same boat. Everyone was
were they moving or still?
Just floating in the water.
Yeah, but I feel like 12, 30 minutes is too long to be still.
I thought that as well, but everyone was loving it. Your skin was warm, and I was just like, because you're freezing.
Skin was peeling off.
But it was kind of like a good thing because everyone felt good.
Yeah.
And it was just like, everyone's in this same situation, same boat, whatever, but everyone's freezing in the water. I think we stayed in for that long because like a P&O ferry was going past and they were like trying to go, blow your whistle, whatever it is, and it didn't, just rodded everyone off and just carried on. Just got battered by the wake of it. Yeah. But they do it every Sunday, and they do it because they feel so good afterwards, and it's more of it's like a psychological response. It's not something because it's going to make me big and strong. It makes you feel good because of you put yourself through something challenging.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you're out and you're back in normal, you're like, I didn't die. It's great. And it builds your resilience. And I'm all for that. But when people turn around and go, cold water therapy does X, Y, and Z, I'm like,
there's something, and the regularity of it, your brain literally gets used to going, stop complaining about it. You're going to suck it up. When we were in, I'm an example of that. So near here actually there's a sauna with a plunge pool at the gym I go to.
Yeah.
And when I go in there now, my mindset is I go in the sauna because I only go there for the sauna and the plunge pool. I don't need to use the gym. I use the gym here. But I go there, I use the sauna. I get out of the sauna after 10 minutes. I'll get in the plunge pool. Mm-hmm. And I just get to the top of the plunge pool, I climb into the ladder, I get in, there's no hesitation, there's no arguing myself. That's it, I'm doing it, I'm getting in, and then I'll do 2 minutes in the plunge pool, then I get out and I walk back in the sauna. That's now. That wasn't like that the first time. The first time was panic stations.
Yeah.
It was panic stations. Walking to that plunge pool, knowing it was going to be horrific. Getting in there, realising it's horrific, trying to control my breathing, did like 30 seconds and got out and back in the sauna. But nothing's changed since the first time I did it and the last time I did it. Nothing's changed. It is the same. My body is experiencing the same stress because it's the same temperature water. It's exactly the same environment. The only difference is I understand what the challenge is going to be, what it's going to feel like. And my brain's going, you got this. You got this, bitch. You can do it. Every year I do a 8-hour expedition. We do a road trip, different places. Next year is the Peak District. Last year was, this year, we're in December, aren't we? This year was the Lake District. Mm-hmm. So I was like, right, let's try and do a dip every time up there in one of the lakes when we're around. And again, at the end of each day, whereas like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'd be like, cold water dip? I don't fucking think so, mate. No way. In fact, the first time we did the expert was in Scotland. And the first night I went in, the next morning where we camped, I went and got in the water. I must have been in that water 20 seconds. I was in enough to get a photo. And like out. Lake this time, like lake, cool, park up. At the end of the day, we get off the motorbikes, and then 2 or 3 other guys would come with me. In fact, my daughter came at one point, and her boyfriend came in. You just walk straight in. It is exactly the same experience. Freezing cold, except my mind is not going, oh, pain. Your mind is going, you know this. You've dealt with this before. You can deal with it now. Straight in there. And it's again, my point is your brain gets used to hardship. And if you're not testing yourself, your brain is like mush. You're an empty wetsuit. You're literally an empty wetsuit. You know.
So like the science behind it, they're like, oh, your neural pathways are X, Y, and Z. And I just think it's, to put it simply, it's just like your body's getting resilient to it. You're like any form of hardship, you're going to overcome it if you expose yourself to it over and over again, right?
Yeah, and this is the thing. The hardship doesn't also have to be, the easiest way to give yourself hardship is physical, right? But sometimes that's not possible.
Yeah.
And sometimes for people, it's not possible because of whatever circumstance they're in. You can still give yourself challenging circumstances. You can still put yourself out of your comfort zone and make challenges for yourself, which make you feel better. Yeah. Which can make you feel better, you know? And like real world examples for me like that are consciously trying to spend less time on my phone.
That's a good one.
Doom scrolling. Because you know what? I enjoy doom scrolling. Not consciously, subconsciously. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't keep going back to do the fucking doom scrolling. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, phone, 8 o'clock of an evening is going to go into the hallway, not on the couch where I'm watching TV or doing whatever. It's going to go into the hallway where I can hear it ring if there's an emergency. Yeah. It doesn't need to be next to me.
That's the thing, right?
I don't like that. I'm going to do it though.
Because you're going to pick it up constantly.
Yeah, exactly. Or even like 20 minutes. So we just always start low. 2 minutes. Yeah. It's a hardship. It's something you don't want to do. You know it's correct. Do it. Get it out there. Get it away from you. Yeah, but what if I get an Instagram message on? No.
We just check this was my last picture.
Yeah. No one needs the phone next to them 24/7 these days. No one.
It's like an extra body part, isn't it? These days, like you can't see it. Even I know this is like going off on a tangent, but even walking down here today.
Hey, Charlie.
Woo! The amount of people who are sat on their phone on the tube, for example, or just walking down the street looking at the phone as they're moving. Yeah. And I was just like, I've got my headphones on, you know, I'm listening to music anyway, and I'm just like looking at people going, no one says hello anymore. Not that they did anyway in London, but just everyone's just on the phone as if like they can't escape it.
Yeah, no. And when I go to the gym, it's one of the reasons I don't take headphones in, I don't take the phone in, because it's like, I
remember you talking about that. When you were saying about that? It's like, I can't remember, sorry. I just remember you saying about that at some point.
I don't know, but I don't. There's like 2 reasons I don't do it. One, because I hate seeing people on their fucking phones. The second thing is it gives me a break. It's like a meditation.
Yeah.
And I first started doing that in lockdown when I went out, started running again in lockdown. Or was it just before? Or during lockdown? I think it was when you can go out for an hour or whatever the fucking thing was. I got on the lockdown, and I would take headphones. And I got rid of the headphones. I just went out and just be alone in my own mind. I was struggling mentally at the time as well, and. My God, your brain, we forget how amazing the brain is. The solutions and the ideas I had when I was running. Because my brain was like, there's nothing distracting me now. I can now process all of this stuff, all of this shit that I've been taking off your phone, all of this stuff that's been on for your life, recently in your life, I can take this and process it all. And on those runs at the time, I would literally just have like epiphanies.
Yeah.
You don't need to be doing that, or this is the solution to that problem, or the X, Y, Z thing. I'm like, fucking hell, man. And then I started not go to the gym when the gyms open back up, and not doing it at the gym. So I go in, and it's not comfortable sometimes. Like I'd be sat on a bench doing weights, maybe, put the weights down after a set. Well, you got a 30-second, a minute rest, depending on what you're doing. If you haven't got a phone there, right? And you don't know anyone, you don't know what to talk to. You're literally sat there on a fucking bench and nothing to do, mate. But you've got to get comfortable back in your own skin.
Yeah, of course.
It's a weird thing. Most people have forgotten that. About the phones. Just rips it away from me. Another aspect of the mental health. I think is a hugely detrimental impact on people. Did you cover any of that in your psychology?
What, the use of phones?
Phones and information overload.
No, but it was all about like trying to escape norms. So when they were talking about like cognition and developing stuff, there was something along the lines of children using iPads to learn.
Yeah.
And it was like, because they've been given iPads, like, not everyone does it, but you'll see like a kid's crying and the mother will just give them an iPad. Watch Peppa Pig.
Most do it.
You know what I mean? I don't have kids, so I can't comment on that. But if I had a kid, I'd probably do the same. I'd be like, here's an iPad. What? Bob, I'm joking. Probably not. Watching iPad as I'm doom scrolling. Yeah. But they were on about the fact that they were using iPads, and then our kids going to learn more using iPads or using technology rather than not. But it was all about the way the world's going and the way technology is. It's always going to be a part of our lives now, and it's just like how we get over that, because it's something to, what was it? It's something to do with like the way we're internally wired or something. We're not used to it, and so it's kind of like, are we evolving to get used to that type of vibe? And I was just like, I was blown away by the concept of how technology has got a massive impact in education, but I can't really remember. It was one of the early modules. I can't really remember.
Well, there is an aspect to it as well where, so I was really worried about the impact of phones, as an example, smart technology on my kids, and was super worried about it. And I relatively recently, the last 4 or 5 years, basically I started doing a podcast and actually started speaking to people that learn and shit and go, whoa. And I was really worried about the impact it would have on them. But I was worried about the impact it would have on them based on my experience with it, based on how easily I can get addicted to it, and how hard I find it to get away from it, and how much it does impact my mental state if I've been on the phone a while. Like if I know the feeling in my head. If I just go on my phone now and I doom scroll for 10 minutes, I know I get a brain fog. My brain is not operating as if it had been if I'd done 10 minutes not on the phone. It literally contaminates my brain, like with just nonsense. I'm not as sharp. And so I was worried about the same thing for my kids. Like, my God, they're going to be on all the time. But what seems to be the case, I should say, when they were young, they weren't phones and iPads at a young age.
Yeah.
When they were young, it was a lot easier then. Phones and iPads existed, but it was the norm. It was still okay to not do that. It was the norm to say, no. No, you're not having the phone because you're fidgeting. You're going to not fucking fidget. It's like, how about shut up because we're at dinner table? Like, not shut up, obviously, but now it's not the case. Now it is the norm to, here, take this, take your mind off it, and just occupy themselves on the phone. But what I found is that with my kids anyway, to your point, because they've grown up with it from a relatively young age compared to us, right? They handle it differently, right? And it impacts them in a different way. Like, they've got no dramas with putting the phone next to them there to go to sleep and not touching that phone until the morning. I think that it's not. Whereas me, I would wake up 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night, maybe just by chance. And if I did, I'm picking that phone up to have a look. That's why the phone is not in my bedroom, because it sits outside my bedroom. Because I know I'll go glance at the phone to have a look at the time, maybe, or whatever. I'll be like, glance at the phone. Next step, unlock the phone. Next step, Instagram. At like 2 a.m. What are you doing? And then 5 minutes later, I'm kicking myself. But they don't seem to be impacted the same way because they've grown up with it. And they don't seem to have that. I was talking about brain fog and sort of cloudiness I get if I'm doom scrolling on there. They don't seem to get that. Or it's not apparent anyway.
Do you think it's weird? I remember when I got my first phone and it was like one little screen. It was like one letter. How old was I when I got it?
Oh, how are you now?
37 now.
Okay, right, yeah.
But when I was a kid, it was like, what do we have a phone for? It was like you had £5 credit and it lasted like a whole year. We were just texting each other the names of wrestlers and stuff. But now it's so mad. But
back in the day, Twitter, you would text Twitter.
Really? I've never used Twitter.
Oh, mate, mega.
Is that?
That's pretty much the primary social media platform I use now as an individual. I don't bother with anything else. I post on Instagram and TikTok for the podcast.
Yeah.
I use X for everything else. But back in the day, that's why X originally, up until relatively recently, was a 140 character limit. Because that's the character limit of a text of an SMS.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And you would literally, that's how you posted on Twitter. You text it.
Do you remember the old Facebook ones when it was just like, when you put your status on, it was like, for example, it'd be like Joey Duffy is, and then it's like watching TV.
No, I don't remember that.
No.
I don't remember that.
I don't have Facebook. I deleted my Facebook years ago.
My first phone
Or I
was
just use
orange. This orange phone. It was like 19, as in the company orange.
Yeah.
It was like 1990.
Yeah, I remember that.
1997 or 1998 it was, and it would cost 30 quid. I had to have an antenna you pull out, and I can't. There's like £5 or £10 card, you know, like top up card.
Yeah.
It would only store 100 contacts. It would store 20 messages, but 10 of them were in your outbox, sent box, and 10 of them were in your inbox. And what was I going to say there? Oh shit, lost my train of thought. Orange phone. Oh yeah, and I had to hide it from my parents.
Really?
Yeah, because they would have gone mental. They would have gone, if they knew I had a phone, they would have gone crazy. Why have you got a phone? And I'm just thinking now, like, why would they go mental? But it's
I only got given one because two of my cousins had one, and my dad thought I was left out. And he's like, "Oh, I'll just get you one."
Do you know what I never had and I regret forever? Not regret, I'm kind of bitter about it. It was the 3210. That was the cool phone. Do you remember that?
With the polyphonic ringtones, was that one?
It was the first. It was the first Nokia that came.
Yeah.
That was, you could change the fascia on it, the front and the back.
I remember that one. Yeah.
It was like a real slim look. The 3210. Everyone had one.
Yeah,
It was
I remember
so cool.
that.
I never had one of
I
them.
just remember playing Snake on.
I'd have one of those now.
You could drop it; it wouldn't break.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now you drop your iPhone. That's it. Drop my phone. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah.
But touch wood, I've only ever broke my phone once, and it was a weird random story. I was looking at the engine block of my car or something, and I was like, I don't know, topping the washer.
Oh, you're a
fluid up or
car
something.
fiend, aren't you?
Nah.
Oh, you're not?
Nah. I ain't got a clue about cars. It's mad. I know some mad stuff, but if you ask me to change a tyre, I'm just like...
Yeah. I thought you were a boy racer. Who was that then?
No, not me.
Someone else from Slow Horses, isn't it?
But I did go through a little phase. It might have been that. So I had an old Golf, and I was like, I've never had like anything like this before. So I put the inside as like Lego Star Wars. Do you remember that? Do you ever see the pictures of the Lego Star Wars inside of my car?
No.
I took the interior. You can take it out. You only touch the roof and you got like
the soft
the felt bit
fabric. Yeah.
Took that down, sprayed it with loads of adhesive glue, put a bed sheet, a Lego Star Wars bed sheet on there, cut it all to size, then put it back on. I swear to God.
Why?
I don't know. I just thought, why not? I've done it. It was so funny. Yeah. That's about as close to boy racer I've ever been in my life.
I had a Vauxhall Vectra, with my first decent car, Vauxhall Vectra, and I had a mini disc player. Do you remember mini discs?
No,
you may not remember them.
Yeah. It wasn't CDs, was it? It was. Yeah.
They were around for like 2 years and then died a death. Like Blu-ray DVDs died a death, didn't they? What else died a death? Mini discs. You had mini CDs, but it was. Oh shh. Yeah, 1 second. Oh, sorry. I thought we ran out of disc space there.
Mini disc space.
You had a mini disc player in there, and one of the mini discs was just full of. It was full of American. I think it was Rangers. Runs the Cadence. It was all their songs. Yeah, and I've tried to find that stuff online since. It was amazing songs. it was so good. It was like talking songs about commies and jumping into the Kremlin, and like there was one song that just went sweat, muscle, jungle, work, sweat and muscle and jungle work. Sweat and muscle and jungle work.
Have you ever watched the Ranger Up videos on YouTube?
No.
I'll send you links for them later on. It's just like old school, early 2000s YouTube video. And it's all about someone selling I don't know if anyone who watches this might see it as well, but they brand an energy drink. It's not real, but they call it like Power Thirst, and you drink it, it's going to make you big. And I'll send you. It's similar to what you're saying there, and it's just like funny at the time, but like now you're like, what is that?
Bringing it back to psychology. Fucking hell, you're right off on a tangent there. Worth it for your Star Wars story, though. Whatever happened to Stoic 1? Mate, I have got that Stoic 1 t-shirt still. It is my favourite t-shirt. Yeah. And I can't wear it out anymore. It's got like holes in it and stuff. I loved that. I loved that. Other people loved it, mate. What happened to Stoic 1?
So for context, I was going through I wouldn't say a tough time, but I was just like in a place where I'm like, what do I want to do with myself? And like every bloke in the army, jump on the stoicism bandwagon. Now, I looked into stoicism and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, some concepts of it was really good. It made you think, tested your resilience and all that. And then I was like, I want to try and make something of this. And obviously the background of like snipers and recce, whatever, try and blend it in as a oneer. And that was the time when everyone was trying to do something on Instagram, you know? So I was like, I'm going to see if I can do something from it and then turn it into like almost like a charity, you know, like a CIC. Turn it into that for veterans people who are now at the army who are struggling. Try and blend it into something to do with fitness and mindset. And then it got to a point where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've got too much on my plate. I'm going to uni. I'm renovating a house. You know, X, Y, and Z. Loads of different things going on in life. So I just put it to the back burner and I stopped doing what I was doing with it. And I knew today, I was like, something's going to get mentioned about that. Right? And I want to start it up again. So I want to create the CIC of mindset for veterans, basically, through just improving your mindset. And I think stoicism is a good way of doing it. Not embracing stoicism itself, but just little things from it. Just improving your own little wisdom or improving your own little mindset through little steps. So I'm definitely considering bringing it back. But that's what it was all about. And I thought it was pretty cool. And I got the t-shirts made, obviously.
Yeah.
Remember when I gave you the t-shirt? I was like, you forgot your t-shirt, come back.
Yeah. Oh, what was that? That was on
that was down the docks for the last episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ali t-shirt, I liked it.
Yeah, but that's what it was. So I might consider bringing it back. If I get 10 likes, I'll bring it back.
I thought you was on about setting something else up as well, were you not?
So that my actual business.
Yeah.
That's on the go at the minute. So that launches in January.
Ah, right. Yeah. Well, why can't Stoic One be part of that?
Because it's separate. I wanted that because that was focused on veterans' mental health.
Yeah.
Where my business is just actual exercise and mental health. It was two separate things.
Yeah. Okay. Let me know when those t-shirts go live. I'll buy another one. I say I'll buy another one. I'll buy one this time.
I'll give you another one for free. It's fine. But there was some good traction on that as well, because when I launched the shop, there was about maybe 10 or 11 people went to the shop, and that's like 10 or 11 more people than I expected to go there. It's not like that to do it to make any money from it, but it was just like, oh, it's good. So there was some traction there.
It was simple branding, mate. It was simple branding. Yeah, it had a fucking gun on the front of the t-shirt, and on the back it said Stoic One. Yeah. And the colours are good. Yeah. That was good quality. Yeah, I'll have one of them. What's it about? Don't care. Looks good.
Yeah, looks good. That's actually I think it's similar to this one, really, isn't
it? Yeah, exactly. It was mega.
But no, that was good. I might consider bringing that back, actually, because the clothing was all right. Danny Bourne, when you had him on in the Dead Ground.
Yeah, I was listening
to his one. I've bought some of his stuff as well. It's exactly the same.
Stuff.
It's really good
stuff, mate.
Really, really good. It's very simple. The message behind it's really great.
Ali, got that wolf. Got the coyote.
Saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so it's got 4 legs and it's got teeth.
Is that what it is? A tiger, is it?
I'm
yeah,
sure
it's Ali Kit, that.
Saber-tooth or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Ali Kit.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I like
There's
that.
some Ali brands at the minute, mate.
There is,
Ali brands.
Some of them are really good as well.
Yeah.
Listen, some of them are like, you can tell, they're just like, oh my God, they're trying to jump on board with the clothing business. They're just trying to earn a bit of money. But some of them are actually really good and out there.
Well, they're going to pile in, mate.
They always do.
The thing is these days, and I'm not knocking anyone starting this stuff up, whether it's a coffee company or whether it's a clothing company. I'm not knocking coffee companies, not knocking clothing companies. Obviously, you and me both know people who run both those things. But it's so easy to start up. That,
well, that's a good question then. If you could start a business or a brand, what would it be other than what you've done already?
It would be like an angel investment firm.
Okay.
And it would fund high risk startups, veteran-owned startups. I say high risk because we're talking early on. These things have been around for less than a year, less than 2 years. They're not established. There's a good idea behind it, but the person who started it up the people have got zero business experience.
So
they go out of the military with a shitload of naivety, no idea what they're doing, but a great concept, no idea to drive it forward.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, we'll invest in this for a little bit of equity, and we basically like Dragon's Den, but not Dragon's Den, but like Dragon investment, but veteran brands.
So what's stopping you doing it?
Time, money. Time and money. You need money to invest and time. I'll do it. I will 100% do it. Definitely. It's been on the back of my mind for a few years.
That's good.
Yeah. But you need to have, you need to have the right people around me to do it. It couldn't be like I'm the guy. It would need to be me plus a couple of others who've got, different sets of experience in different things.
Yeah.
But, and people are willing to take that risk because, if you and I were to go and invest in 10 different veteran-owned companies now, maybe one of them we'd see a return. Maybe. If we just do it off the cuff, maybe. But going back to the coffee and the clothing company business, it is good that it's so easy to set up a business these days in anything. It's so easy to do, especially with drop shipping and all of that. It's good that it's so easy because all the people who are really entrepreneurial who are getting out now have kind of got a head start as if that they wouldn't have had if they were getting out 20 years ago.
I think there's a lot of people in the army who've got a good entrepreneurial head on the shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of them have. You know what? Here's one for you. I've always thought, since actually it's something I realised since doing the podcast and interviewing bootnecks, is that bootnecks seem to be better off at Civvy Street, right, than the army in general. They just seem to be more business minded, right? Less naive, right? And I've always thought it since probably 6 months into the podcast here. I fucking know all these people I'm getting on seem to be squared away. And someone said to me probably about 6 months ago now, I can't remember who it is, but they basically said that is because bootnecks are predominantly, on average, from middle-class families. Whereas the army is not the case.
Yeah,
it is
actually
middle class at best.
Yeah.
And I thought, actually, there's something in that.
Yeah.
Something in that. Makes total sense. And it would explain a lot why they are so different in terms of, on average, if you check, they're sort of, the average personality of a bootneck is a little bit more refined than the average personality of someone in the army.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I see what you mean.
Someone in the army are fucking renegades, mate. You're like, whoa, what has this character been doing in his background? Whereas the bootnecks seem to be a little bit more stable, in my experience anyway.
No, I see what you mean. Pretty much every bootneck I've ever met is like quite intelligent.
And it explains why they're also so rigid in the way they do things. Like they are by the book assholes. They all wear the same kit. And
did you see have you heard of Paul Harris? He calls himself the Warrior Walker.
No.
So he's a guy I met. He walked around the UK twice.
Paul Harris.
Yeah, he's a ex-bootneck.
Okay.
And he's done the same thing. Just started thinking about launching a coffee brand because he was fueling himself with coffee on the way around and stuff. But he's got a really, really good entrepreneurial head on his shoulders as well. And thinking about it now, it's just like you do meet more people who are ex-Marine than ex-Army who are thriving in the entrepreneurial world. Like a guy I know, he's ex-Royal Marines, Harry Shep. He's doing really, really well in the fitness world, fitness industry. Sorry. So there's quite a lot. But then a lot of people who get out of the army who have done clothing brands or coffee companies themselves have done really well as well. So
you say a lot.
Well, the ones who do it, stick to it. So who's doing really good?
That's the thing. You've got to stick at this stuff. You've got to stick at it. Look at.
As soon as they hit that first hurdle and fall over, they quit.
Yeah, so they expect to make $1 million straight away. Or it's with podcasts. Everyone's starting a podcast these days. I'm not just talking about military. But everyone, I've had two call this morning with a guy who just started a podcast. Call yesterday with a guy who's thinking about starting a podcast.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing. Where I said to them the one today, he's already started it, but it's early days. He's released 2 episodes. He's recorded 8. The guy yesterday, brand new doing it. And one of the things I said to him was, you need to manage your expectations. Your first release is going to get a handful of listeners. You know what I mean? And it is going to go like that for months and months and months. Unless you're willing to pump money into marketing, pump money into advertising, it's going to be a real slow burn. You're not going to get millions of followers overnight, regardless of how cool you think the interview was.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, you've got no name, no one knows you, you've got no platform you can jump onto, you're not a celebrity, you've not got people who are celebrities who can help you launch it, and you've not got loads of money for the marketing. It's going to be a slow burn. And that's where HR has been, slow burn. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's the same with the, like I said, the coffee brands and the clothing brands. Fucking hell, you've got to stick at it. The main thing is it getting growth? That's the main question. Whether it's coffee, whether it's podcast, whether it's fucking t-shirt company, whether it's fitness company, whether it's X, Y, Z, consultancy, whatever. It's like, okay, on average, over the last 6 months that you've been doing it, is interest increasing? Is revenue increasing? If it's revenue driven, like podcast, a lot of time in the spare time, you're not going to see revenue for fucking years. But is interest increasing? Is the listener base increasing?
Yeah.
Are there followers on social media increasing? On average, you're going to have bad days. You're going to lose people, but is it a net gain?
Do you think
if the answer is yes, keep doing what you're doing?
Do you think it's like down to the reason why they do it as well? What's the why of why you're doing a podcast? What's the why of why you're releasing a clothing label or clothing brand? Why is what you're doing? If you're doing it for financial gain and that's what your aim is, that's fine. But if you're saying you're doing it for, let's say, veteran mental health, but you're actually doing it for financial gain, it's not going to work, because I think as soon as you find your why on something, or the reason why you want to do it, then the passion's going to be there and you're going to be driven to achieve success in it, I guess. But a lot of people just doing it just to earn a bit of money, and then that's why it crumbles, because they don't.
Yeah, the one's built on false premise like that. Yeah, we're doing it for mental health, or we're doing it for raising awareness of X, Y, Z thing. It's not really. They're just nonsense.
I do
straight through it.
I do an Instagram story. I started doing it I tried to do it every Sunday, but I was traveling, stopped that. But I do a thing called a MOO chat.
And I've seen those.
Yeah, and I just do it just for people to talk. I don't do it because I'm like, I want to do this, or I want to get the reach out there. It's like just getting normal people who wouldn't really get the opportunity to do it, and just talk on Instagram Live for like 20, 30 minutes. And someone says, well, why are you doing that? And I was just like, just to expose everyone to getting any message they've got out there, really. You know what I mean? It's not because I want to benefit from it myself. I'm just getting people on there. And so far I've had like a couple of fitness people on there. I've even had a mate who's done the ice, like cold water stuff. He just dips in the sea, and he was like telling people why he enjoyed it. And I'm a big fan of that. But I wouldn't want to try and turn that into a podcast, or try and turn that into something, because I just enjoy doing that little small chat on social media to a small amount of people who's going to watch it. But then you'll get people who are like, do that because they want to try and, let's say for example, turn it into a podcast, and they're not going to really achieve anything from it, because they're just going to, there's no end game to why they're doing it, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But if there's an audience for it, then why not put it elsewhere?
True.
You know, if you've got the time and the inclination and the interest in doing it, and there's people interested in listening or engaging with it, then why not put it elsewhere? It's like the guy this morning I was talking to, and he's got a business which is not podcasting. But he's got time. He's got some recording kit. He's got a location. He's got some expertise on hand to help him with it, and he's got people he can speak to, which are relevant to his business.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, why not?
Yeah,
like, is there interest?
Yeah,
why not?
time.
If you've got time to do something productive, then do it. Especially if you can turn it into social media stuff for businesses, anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a kind of a no-brainer if you've got the time. But again, you have to actually be honestly interested and invested in what you're talking about. Otherwise, people see straight fucking through.
Oh, 100%.
Straight through it. And you know, that's probably why a lot of the veteran-owned startups and whatever they're doing fail, because they're going into it for money purposes, and they've got no idea about business. They've got no idea about how to identify who the fuck they need to sell to and what they're interested in. So difficult.
Yeah, what's your niche?
Yeah, so difficult. You know, and then they don't realize that the market's saturated.
It is, isn't it? That's the big thing as well. Like all that competition you've got out there, because there's like thousands of companies doing exactly the same as you.
Exactly.
What difference are you from
whether it's podcasts, whether it's coffee, whether it's fitness, whether it's clothing, you know. And there's loads of good stuff out there. It's like knock and knock. I mean, how many coffee brands are there? Fucking quality. Clothing brands, quality. You know, and in fact, thinking about it, yeah, all of the clothing ones at the minute, the clothing ones that stick in my mind now are those ones where you go, they're genuinely trying to improve people
Yeah.
or society. Like, genuinely, Sin Eaters Guild, In the Dead Ground, Gibraltar Trading Company,
Yeah.
Oglum was another one. You know, all these brands, and they're decent people behind it, doing it for the right reasons. And yeah, the main reason they're doing it is for a living,
Yeah.
but it's not the entire reason. You know, it's
I mean, you'd be silly not to want to get some financial incentive out of whatever you're doing anyway. But as long as that's not like if that's the main reason why you're doing it and it's working, then so be it. But if there's something behind it, like you need to make money in order to improve something else,
yeah.
that's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if my advice is, like, if someone's got an idea about some business thing, then I think we can be really precious with it and be afraid someone's going to go and steal that idea away.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you're not going to be able to do it on your own. Like, really not going to be able to do it with your own knowledge. You need to go out and get advice on it, and just, you know, reach out to a brand you think you can trust, who's in the same arena you want to hit.
I've got this idea, and they're like, oh, that's a really good idea. And like 6 months later,
yeah, do this. I think you fucking But yeah. What have we not covered? We wanted to cover. Have you done any filming since Slow Horses? We've got about 5 or 10 minutes, only because I'm having a technical issue which is going to hit in about 5 or 10 minutes time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk about the MOO before we cut off.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So I've got my own little business on the side, which I'm growing. MOO stands for Mindset, Optimize, and Outperform.
Ah, I didn't realise that. Okay, that's why it's the MOO chat. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Basically, it started off because me and my friend used to call each other a fat cow when we see each other eating.
In fact, one sec, we haven't got that show actually, because what we'll do is we'll have a pause.
Yeah.
I'll sort this out, and then we'll come back on because we've got the questions as well from the Patreon.
Yeah, sound.
But you carry on now. Go on. So MOO, yep.
When do you want to pause?
Let's pause now.
Yeah.
Issue overcome. Right. Reset. MOO.
MOO.
So MOO stands for what?
So MOO stands for Mindset, Optimize, Outperform.
Mindset, Optimize, Outperform.
Yeah. So
Outperform.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Outperform who?
So that's the thing. You need to change your mindset. Once you've changed your mindset, you optimize on the issue that you want resolving.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, you outperform yourself by 1% each day.
Nice. I like that bit.
Yeah.
Because people tend to set their targets too high, especially with self-improvement.
Yeah.
Or if they measure themselves against other people.
Yeah.
Like, right, I got to get fit. Right, 10-mile run tomorrow. And they haven't done anything like no, not 10-mile run. You're not going to do it.
I've done that.
Go for a walk.
I've done that. I done a.
Have you done that? Yeah.
I done an ultramarathon, like a charity
Oh my
ultramarathon
God.
last year, and it was basically 50 miles. So from Aldershot to Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And it was like, what's that, 75k or something.
Yeah, beast.
And I'd done it in 12 hours, like 10 minutes or something, in a group of 4. 2 of them had done ultramarathons before. One of them was just into running, and me. And I was like, I've got this idea, because I had 2 knee operations because I got injured playing football. I kind of like build my own mindset, develop my own resilience. I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. I'd done a 5k.
That was your training?
That was my training,
Oh
a
my
5k.
Oh my God.
And it was my first like phys session. So basically, they thought my ACL had gone, but I just split the meniscus. Done an MRI, inconclusive. There was like, we'll operate, and if it needs repairing, we'll repair in there. So they just fixed my meniscus. That after 6 weeks, that re-ruptured. So I had to have another surgery again, and then they removed the torn meniscus, whatever, and then that was good to go. I was like, oh, cool. So I was out for like a year. And then I was like, I want to do this. I'm going to aim towards it. I was like, cool. I was like, I'll do loads of phys beforehand. And then like furthest of them was like 5k. And then I got to the day before and I strapped my knees up with tape. I was like, I'm good to go. We had like a support wagon with food and stuff. And we done it. And it was so good. Didn't hurt. It was nice. Just like literally plodded the whole way. Nice little slow pace.
You were fine with it?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
Like,
Mind
your only
blown.
beat up was 5 kilometers.
5k.
You didn't do anything, but you were in there, weren't you? So you were used to long distances? No.
I've never been a fan of running. And this is the thing, I was just like, I'm just going to do it and beast it. And I thought it was going to be horrendous. I was really lucky. The weather was nice the whole way around. It wasn't too cold. It wasn't like a fast pace. It was really slow. And it was stop-start. I had like 6 or 7 checkpoints, and you had a load of food, drank a load of water. and then went to the next checkpoint. And it was just slow. I think that the longest checkpoint we done was maybe about 18k.
Right.
So maybe about 18k,
Yeah.
19k, and then the others were like a little bit shorter. So it wasn't too bad. Overall, on paper, it's like an ultra marathon. It's horrible, no fizz. Yeah. But in reality, it was just like a really slow jog for half a day, like a lot of breaks, and it was really good. But yeah, that was like the outperform. What was we getting at? It was like going for a run, like setting your mindset up for it. But yeah, that's what MOO is: mindset, optimize, outperform. And that stemmed from me and my mate used to taking the piss out of each other. Like we teach eat in the scoff house, and it's like, oh, eat a burger. It's like, you're fat, and then it went from you're fat to you're a fat cow, and then you're a fat cow moo, and then it just MOO just stuck, and then it became a greeting. Like you'd see a friend and be like MOO, and he'd moo back at you, like that type of stupid thing. Yeah. And it was all the
kind of greeting that everyone else who doesn't know, like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So basically, I'll see my friend in the street and I'll shout MOO, and he'd shout MOO back, and everyone's like, I don't know what's going on. But that was like a kind of like in-house joke we had. So I kind of like the aspect of that. So I changed my name to, like, my name on Instagram is Joey the MOO. It's been that for a few years now, but that just stemmed from that. And then when I started getting into like the coaching and mentoring space and the fitness world of me wanting to be a coach, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna call myself the MOO Coach. And I was like, that's cool. And then that kind of stuck. And then MOO, obviously looked into it a little bit, figured out what I wanted to be, what my why was, and now it's all about. It's got that little bit of humour into it. It's got the personal brand, but it's also that interest, intrigue, and uniqueness. Because people are like, "Oh, what's MOO? That's really cool." So that's a really good, like, unique selling point I've got. But at the same time, it's like it's very, very personal. So there's like a meaning to it. But yeah, the idea, the old concept behind it is that concept is the right word. Is what I want from it is, if you've got an issue, you need to change your mindset towards that issue of why you want it changed. Once you've figured out that and you've got some baby steps of what you're going to do, then you need to optimize that one thing you're trying to do. So if you want to run 5K, you need to get over the barrier of why you can't run 5K mentally. Focus on one thing that will improve that, getting you closer to that goal, and then improve yourself every day. And whether that's improving your nutrition, your water intake, your mindset, doing something that's totally random, doing something fun, as long as you're feeling better at the end of the day than you were at the start, then I'm happy with that, regardless of what it is. But that's what it's just, like basic little things. And then ideally, over a longer period of time, you become a better person.
So it's coaching.
It is coaching, yeah. But it's not just from the physical aspect of coaching. It's also like, ideally, I would like to be a mindset coach, focusing on what you want to do for fitness and fat loss, for example. But this is just baby steps of developing my brand and my business for looking into the future of focusing on mental health through physical activity and exercise. So that's what MOO is at the minute.
Yeah, I like it, mate. I like it.
Yeah.
And you got the knowledge and the experience to be able to do that.
I just got to implement it now.
You've probably done it a million times anyway for people, just without offering advice and guidance to people.
Exactly.
And if you can monetize that for people who don't know,
Well, I'm a realist. I don't, like, because I guess some people they'll go to university, they get all this accreditation and get all these like qualifications and stuff, and they assume that they know everything. With me, I'm like, well, I've got this, I've got a bit of paper, but I've got a letter next to my name, but I'm still just a fucking thick idiot who joined the infantry, because he had nothing. But I'm trying to like bring my life experience into improving other people's lives, I guess. But I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I'm this, I'm that. I'm just a normal person who just likes helping people. Yeah.
No, I like the sound of it. It's good. People go and try and improve themselves physically, mentally, or health-wise. And, the classic is weight loss, right? And they'll go and get a personal trainer, and they'll go and, or maybe they'll go and do a gym class 3 or 4 times a week, or personal trainer. But, like you're saying in the mindset, if your mindset is wrong outside of those sessions, you're pissing it at the wind. You're pissing it at the wind because, one, we probably won't understand really why you need to go and do those things. It's not just about, oh, I burn calories, I lose weight. It's like, it's more important than that, as we've sort of alluded to already on the podcast. And the other thing is, you're pissing at the wind because all the habits outside that you won't be doing, and your mindset will be wrong, and you won't also be appreciating yourself enough for the hardship you're putting yourself through. You are deciding to do these things, to give yourself a pat on the fucking back, and that mindset piece then means that is you're getting benefit and moving towards being healthier or achieving that goal you want to achieve. Maybe it's a better 10K, maybe it's a better park run, maybe it's maybe it's getting your beach body. Maybe it's getting your wedding body.
Yeah.
You having a better mindset outside of those sessions helps you do that
100%.
because you make better decisions.
Yeah.
But you need to understand it, right? You need to contextualize these things to understand going forward. And again, it goes back to the military side. We did all this, like all of the phys and all the routine and there's so many positive things that we had, or you're still in, that I had, which we take for granted. All the things I just mentioned that we leave and you go, man.
Did you ever feel as if, because I've come across this a couple of times, it's like you're forced to do fitness in the military. So when you're out, you don't feel forced to do phys. So that's why you're keen to start training again. Have you ever felt like that? Because I've spoken to a few people who've got out the army who enjoy doing PT now because they don't feel as if they have to do it.
No,
they do it because they want to do it.
No, I've not had that. I've not felt that, no. No, I've just my motivation for phys when I got out was just to not to get fat. It was literally not get fat. Like I don't want to ever be fat, and that was mainly because of physical appearance.
Yeah,
like I despised fat people when I was in. I kind of still do now. If there's no excuse.
Yeah,
you know
I understand. I totally understand.
If there's no excuse here, I do. When I see someone who's overweight, and this is incredibly judgmental, but it is fucking reality. When I see someone who's overweight, and I don't know them, I make judgments, and I ask myself, why are they like that? Especially if you're in that position, they do this thing, and I know that they've got time to be able to overcome it. I know that it would be beneficial for them to be healthier and look healthier in the thing that they do in their life. Job-wise, for example. Why? Because to me, it speaks volumes about mindset, mental state, capability, intent, motivation, understanding, self-respect. And so that was why I did it when I first got out, and it was just like, don't get fat, literally. Now it's not, as I explained to you earlier. Now it is vital to me. And it's not vital 7 times a week. It's vital to regularly challenge myself. And I do that best physically. I play fucking 43 years old. I play rugby, I box. Play rugby, I box, and I smash myself in the gym. It's not boxercise. I fucking box. And it's not like rugby once or twice a year. I know a lot of other people who play at my age, but at my age, I feel like I'm fucking 60 years old. Play rugby. But it's not an easy sport. There's so many injuries. And do you know what? The first time I stepped on the pitch this year, playing regularly for a team, because I've played once or twice a year over the last 3 or 4 years since I set up a rugby club, Forces Barbarians, a military rugby club. I basically set that up, and I was getting injured every game because I was playing that game like I was in my 20s again, and I was smashing into the tackles, and I'm a hard player anyway, right?
Yeah.
Just South Wales rugby, and like Northern rugby is different, right? And I'm competitive. So I go into those games, not match fit, not ready for contact. I'd have a big hit, or I'd have a big game, and then I'd be written off for 6 months. And I wouldn't be able to box probably for 3 months because it'd be an upper body injury, most likely. And then I thought, I need to get a body impact fit. So I started training for a rugby club near where I live, and I started playing for them. The first time I stepped onto that pitch for them to play for them, which was this season, I was shitting bricks, mate. I mean, the panic. I was like, my heart was racing. I was this is as they're waiting to blow the whistle to kick off that game. It wasn't panic like panic attack, but I was to the point where I was on the pitch going, you need to get a grip of yourself. You're going to be all right. You've played a million games before. I was just afraid. I was just afraid of afraid of playing for a new team and showing what I'm capable of and not fucking up.
Yeah.
And also you're playing league matches, not rugby league, but you're playing like competitive rugby again. I was like, brrr. But again, back to the resilience thing. Second match, I was a little bit better. Now, I just walk on that pitch. There's no panic. It's a fucking rugby match. Get a grip of yourself. It's like there's nothing to panic about. And I know there's people listening to this podcast who know me, and they will laugh. And they know me from Forces Barbarians, and they will laugh. You go, what? Panicking? Yeah, 100% panicking. 100% panic on that pitch from the first time I walked on. You know, it's also the social aspect. And with a bunch of people I don't know, I'm not the most social of people either. It's like, okay. Anyway, I fucking went off a right tangent. So, MOO.
Yeah.
It's you and a mate.
Just me.
Oh, I thought it was you and a mate. I thought you said it's you and a mate then. It's just you then?
Just me, yeah.
Ah.
I don't have mates. I don't have any friends. I'm a loner. No, it started off with me and my friend mooing at each other. So that's where the idea of MOO came from.
Right.
But
so that's your long term when you get out, that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And you can get that up and running. Well, you have got it up and running while you're still in, right?
Yeah, that's what I want to do now. That's why I'm doing it. Or get out in a couple of years, just use the time now to build it up.
Yeah.
So when I do leave, I don't leave and have to start again fresh. I can leave and walk out into something that's doing really well. That's the plan. If it doesn't do really well, then I've learnt from it. I can try something else. But I've got a good feeling about this. And a lot of people have said to me, that's a really good idea. It's very, very, very niche within the fitness world as well. And it's something that's missing. So I'm actually quite excited. I've done a lot of mentorships. I've signed up to a few programs as well. And every time I do it, you think it's probably them just saying it because they're going to make some money off it. But they're like, it's a really, really good idea and a good concept. Plus, not many people can say they've got like a psychology background as well as a sports rehabilitation background and a business mentor background.
And the military background.
And the military background as well, blended into one.
Yeah.
And like everyone, we all have our hardships, and I've managed to get myself out of the hardships as well. So I've got some relevant and personal experience when it comes to helping other people as well, whether that's coaching them or mentoring them through something.
Okay.
So that's what MOO is.
Website?
Not yet, but there will be at some point.
Instagram is what?
Joey the MOO.
Joey the MOO.
But the website
Joey the MOO.
Yeah, the website is the MOO Coach. I've got the domain. I just
You got
not got a
t-shirts?
website. Not yet.
Jesus Christ.
I will get you a t-shirt. I'll get you. The logo is sick as well. That's like a cow's head with like horns, like all like futuristic.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty minimalistic, simplistic.
Yeah.
And it's just pure MOO. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, Joey the MOO.
But if you're doing these lives on Instagram, do them on YouTube, do them on TikTok, all at the same time.
I've heard that as well, right?
You can do it, mate. If you're doing right, this is the thing. If you are producing content,
Yeah.
right, and there are 3, 4, 5 platforms out there who you can publish the content to, why are you only doing it to one?
It's just easy to just do it on a reel. That's the reason I've done it on a reel.
TikTok, mate, is where it's at. I'm telling you.
Do you know, I've got a mate who's
different.
a fitness coach, and TikTok is where the majority of his clients come
100%.
from.
And it's not all kids. Like people say, no, fucking kids, not all kids.
Non-stock.
I'm telling you, it's different. And they treat content producers differently.
I made a TikTok.
When I set up the HR pod, I've told a story before on the podcast. I'm sorry for fucking people listening.
I've not heard it. Say it again.
When I set up the HR TikTok account for the second time, because the first time my daughter set it up and then she forgot the password. So there's at HR podcast on TikTok, controlled by no one, annoying. At HR pod on TikTok. The very first video I posted on there, because I was just like, oh, fucking this or that. And there's a famous, relatively well-known video of a Welsh guy in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
You've seen it? And he's funny as fuck, mate. It's about 7 minutes long. I took about a 60-second snippet of that, a 30-second snippet. I ripped it up from YouTube. I took the 30-second clip, right? I put some overlays at the top. I said, this guy's a fucking legend. What to do? Because it was funny.
Yeah.
That's the very first thing I posted on TikTok. I had maybe 1 or 2 followers. I had not posted before. 1.4 million views.
Wow.
Right? So you think about that in the context of Instagram or Facebook, you need to have a following for people to try and get those impressions. It's unusual to get that kind of viewing if your account's just being created. TikTok's different, mate. If you drop something and people engage with it, it's the right time and people engage with it, TikTok will be like, show this to everyone. It is
really?
wildfire. 1.4 million views.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So I've only ever heard good things about it when it comes to like...
Some videos I'll drop, mate, and I'll get 300 or 400 views. I've got 5,000 odd followers now, right?
Yeah.
Some videos I'll drop, the average will get 200, 300, 400 views. Others, I drop a clip from a recent podcast with a copper, like 14,000, views within a couple of days. You know, it's different beast. It's a different beast. It's really good, for brand new organizations or organizations who need to increase their footprint and are generating content that can be put on TikTok anyway.
So I made a TikTok, but for my dog. Because I was like, I want to get rich from my dog. Really shit. No, I was just like, I wanted to show little puppy pictures of her. And the most I ever done is just put a picture. Like I put one on my Instagram the other day and I shared it to the TikTok. And it was to the TikTok platform as well. And it's just like people liking it because there's a dog. And I'm like, it's mad what people consume. But yeah.
Right, let's do the questions, Joey.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the questions from the Platinum.
Crypto factor getting out of there.
The Platinum patrons. Okay, right. We may not be able to do all of these, but we will endeavour. So I think all of the questions have come from our friend Coke, avid live stream viewer, and he was dropping these questions in at the start of the icebreakers. He's ready to go. Right. Okay. Hugh mentioned you were an army PTI. Are they amongst the fittest in the army? How would you recommend those preparing for the army train, e.g. the paras?
Oh, see, that's a tough one, because when I was a PTI, the fitness standards are a little bit different. So it was my time ran out just as the mile and a half was moving away from that, and I was turning into the SCR and all the different types of functional training. In regards to people joining, there's a lot of good coaches out there they can follow. Harry Shep is a good one, for example. Mike Chadwick, especially if you want to go power edge, get hold of Mike Chadwick and the Red On team. They'll give you the best information for that. But for me, just keep yourself ticking over as best you can.
Yeah.
Don't do anything extravagant or mental. Just basic running, aerobic, and improve your strength and conditioning.
Nothing for weight bearing, no?
No, I wouldn't do any weight bearing stuff until you get in there, because they build you up.
Okay.
Otherwise, you've got more chance of injury if you do it now than when you get in there.
Okay. Were you nervous about being a guest on H Hour?
100%. I've been nervous in the presence of you.
Panicking. You can't see it on camera. You've been sat here perspiring the entire time.
Yeah, I've got a fan blowing on to keep me going. No, I was nervous. I've not really done a.
You've done podcasts before, haven't you?
Yeah, but not one this intense.
Intense.
Yeah, your eyes bearing me down the whole time.
Are you joking?
Yeah, I'm joking. No.
Right. Okay. Has being in the army made you harsher on others, civilian friends, etc.?
Do you know what? I'm not as empathetic as most are. So I guess in a way, yes. But some standards I've been living in a flat with civilians. My standards are a little bit higher than theirs. So yes, but generally not really. Just my emotional regulation is a little bit different, I guess.
Okay.
Either that or I'm just autistic.
Is it easier or harder training young recruits compared to older recruits?
Oh, that's a really good question, as well.
That is a good question.
Yeah, so I actually spent 2 years at Harrogate as a PTI, so I was teaching the 16-year-olds there, and they were really good to train when you made it relevant to them, so getting onto their level, because as an adult, trying to teach a little 16-year-old who's just left school and he doesn't really care, as long as you make it engaging for them, I find that enjoyable and rewarding, because I was like trying to make it, as I said, relevant to them. So it's like speaking to them on their level and letting them understand why they need to do certain things a certain way and to improve. I guess as an adult, I wouldn't really know as an adult as such, but if you join the army at a later age, then you probably want to do it because you want to join the army. So you're more interested in learning and want to be there. Mm-hmm. So it makes it easier to train the older generation of recruit, I guess. But I guess it's all down to however what your teaching style's like and your ability. But I think it's evenly matched, because the majority of people join the army because they want to join the army as well. So they're in that mindset. But yeah, it's a really good question. It's a really tough one to answer as well, I reckon. Mm.
If a recruit said another recruit or instructor was bullying them, how would you respond? Have you dealt with this for real?
I have. It's a really fine line as well, because bullying to one person could be banter to another. So I I don't know if this is the right way or the wrong way. If anyone's bullying, you always report it. You have to. You report up the chain of command just for that safeguarding piece. But when I've had recruits, I've told them, and I'm sure a lot of people have said this as well, I always emphasize that there's a fine line between banter and bullying as well. A person's cultural background, you might grow up in a working class environment when all you see is bullying, but it's not bullying. It's just like a show of affection, for example. And it's a really extreme example. But then if someone was to say something that, let's use the word, offended someone else, have a word with that person, say I didn't like it. If they then do it again, then that's bullying. If they don't do it again and they apologize and learn from it, then that was just banter, which has been overstepped.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it as well. If they do it a second time, then it's bullying.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah. What would you change about physical education in schools?
Oh, that's a really good question as well. I'd want to emphasize the importance of physical education and why it's important to do it. Emphasize the importance of physical education just for the longer term benefits, not just the short
Physical
term.
exercise, you mean?
Yeah. Sorry, what is physical education?
Physical education, you were
Physical
saying.
exercise, yeah, for the benefits. I think education as a whole needs to maybe redefined in a little bit as well, of understanding why the education system's there. Physical exercise in the education system. Do they do enough? Probably not. Are they resilient enough? Not really. But kids don't play outside anymore, do they? They sit there and, as we said, about phones and stuff. So are they getting enough physical exercise and activity? Probably not as well. So I'll definitely change it. But how you go about it, I wouldn't be the right person to ask.
You know what I'd bring in if I was a teacher, or if I was a head? I would bring in the start of every lesson would be 5 minutes meditation.
That's
Shut the
really
fuck
good.
up, sit down, close your eyes, count to 300 in seconds.
Yeah.
That'll be it. Done. I'm telling you.
I think that'd be really good.
The output of that school would be much better than everyone else. Telling you. Because they'd be more receptive to each lesson. They'd be switched off from the previous one, the conversation in the corridors. They'd be in calm mode, and go, obviously.
I like that. That'd be really good as well.
Maybe not 5 minutes, but maybe 2 minutes.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah. Are all infantry trained to the same standard? If the powers are the best, are all infantry trained to the same standard? If the powers are the best, would it be better if all army infantry copied their training? Coke, on this one, so Joey was a PTI, but before that he was Prince of Wales Royal Regiment, so PWR. Joey is from a infantry unit. So go on.
Yeah. I like the fact that the Power Reds are different because they've got a greater mindset compared to the average infantry soldier.
But why do you think that is?
It's the want. It's their why. It's what they want to do. I think
Partly
it's
the reason.
Yeah. I think it's the culture.
But we're filtering out the people who don't have that in the selection.
That's what you think. But then we do the same. We filter people out in the selection as well, want to join the army, and they still leave. So I think
but it's been an additional layer, right? It's additional.
Do you know what? I don't think I'm too versed in politicians' answer now. I'm not well versed to answer that, but I've never joined the Power Edge. I've never wanted to join the Power Edge. It's not something I've wanted to do. Looking back now, if I could tell my 16-year-old self like early on, would I say join the Power Edge? I'd probably say give it a go if you wanted to try it, but I quite like there's a difference just for the fact being that there's that individuality of your culture as a paratrooper,
You have to say nice things around me.
I'm just trying to make you smile. I've been trying for the last few hours, but I definitely like the fact that there's a difference in mindset in regards to training. I don't know if that's answered the question, but
did you ever come close to failing training in the army, e.g., sniper training?
Yeah. On my last attempt on the first lot of shooting.
The badge test?
No, it was split into two parts.
Right.
So you got the part
the
one.
sniper course?
Yeah.
Where did you do it? HDPRCC?
No, so Bisley was the first one,
Yeah.
and then the second one was in Brecon, but it wasn't, because that's household and Power Edge, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I done mine through, it was run by, it was down HDRPC, because it was run by the Marine Colour.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first part, and then the second part was run in Brecon through Queenstiff.
So what, you nearly failed the shooting part?
So on the first part, you do your grouping and zeroing. I was panicking, and I was
What, on the SA80?
no on the 338.
On the 338,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
And you have to, I think you have to, something like your grouping has to be less than 50 or wherever. And
Yeah.
there was like 6 or 7 people failing. And I was like, pfft. Then they come to me and I was like, oh no. I panicked hard. Really.
The irony is that shooting is the easiest bit, right?
Yeah.
Of all of it. What's the British Army like in peacetime? Would you recommend people join?
Depends what you want to join for. If you want to milk the system and get an education, yeah. Living proof of that. Sorry, Army.
That's about the only benefit these days.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not true.
I guess it's good if you come from a background where nothing's going your way. Grew up in a shithole.
It's a guaranteed career, right?
Yeah.
You've got a guaranteed career. You get in, you've got a guaranteed career. You've got guaranteed money in the bank. You've got guaranteed accommodation. You've got guaranteed path of promotion, progression. You've got...
And if you do well, it's 24 years. It's a quarter of your life where you're going to get paid.
And you've got time to go and do another career.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah. Do people in your unit care much about who's in government? Do soldiers talk about politics?
Not really. I don't think so. Doesn't make a difference. We're getting paid by whoever's in power. We're getting paid by. So
it's not a good idea to start doing that now when you're in. No. What's it like being on the film sets you've been on?
Do you know what? It's actually brilliant. Loved it.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's decent.
You've done much more. You've done more. You've done three shows, haven't you? You've done 3 things.
I've done quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've done about 3 or 4 series.
Okay.
I was on a B&Q advert.
Oh, you're a pro.
Yeah, I'm on a short film starting in February next year as well.
Nice.
Zombie one. So, yeah. And Game of Thrones. I was on House of Dragon.
Ah,
Yeah,
nice.
That was pretty sick.
Oh,
But yeah, it's good fun. Free food, free coffee. It's class.
yeah. Would army NCOs make good prison guards?
Yeah, I think so.
Right. Yeah. I think so. Because I think just because it's very similar to. It's a familiar environment. I'd say.
Very routine stuff like that as well.
Again, routine, ranking,
Yeah.
very, very clear what's to be done, what can and can't be done, what's right and wrong, the value of what you're doing, I suppose, yeah. What's the relationship like between soldiers and the police officers where they're based? Soldiers and the police officers? Soldiers and the police officers?
No idea. But there's a lot of reservists who are police officers.
Yeah.
I guess there's a good relationship between them. Okay. They join the reserves, but I couldn't give you an answer to that. I don't know.
Are military leaders who've been on kinetic tours a lot better than they'd otherwise be? How can you make military leaders good if they haven't been on tours?
I like that question. Lived experience is a good one, so they can learn from people who've experienced that. But I guess it's a bit of a dilemma we've had throughout time. Look at First World War, the Second World War, big lull, then you had Korea, big lull, Falklands, lull, Gulf. So we've always had to answer that question somehow. But just realising past mistakes, learning from that, then understanding what works, what doesn't work through lived experience, I guess. But just because they've been on a kinetic tour doesn't make them a better leader? Definitely not. I've known people who are absolute fucking lizards who've been on tours in a position of power. And then people who have not been on a kinetic tour, are really, really good leaders. So I guess it's all down to personality and the culture of where they are in regards to the unit, their screws in training, for example, what they've learned from people around them. I think that's a tough one to answer, but it's depending on, I don't think you can, I don't think just because they're being on a kinetic tour doesn't make them a better leader at all. Okay,
2 questions left. One's for me, one's for you. How supportive is the ex-Para Reg community for Paras leaving the army? Very good. There's the answer to that. I'll keep it short so we can put the next question to Joey. How much, very, very good in my experience. Okay, how much violence is used in the army today if people mess up? Hugh said it was the norm when he was in. I've alluded to, it was normal. It was not, I'll rephrase that, it wasn't unusual to get a slap, a punch, or a few if you dropped the bollock.
I'm still in the army. It's not a violent organisation.
It got less usual as time went on when I was in, but yeah.
No,
probably
I don't.
Pretty
There's
rare,
not.
mate.
There's not a lot of violence in the army, and if it is, it's dealt with.
Cool. Joey, it's been a pleasure. At Joey the MOO on Instagram. TikTok.
The MOO Coach.
Soon to be on TikTok. Oh, you're on? You're on?
It's just got nothing, no content.
Oh, you're not putting it on. Okay, the MOO Coach. All right, cool. Sweet, mate. Anything else?
Had a good time just chatting. It's been good. It's been good to catch up, you know.
I know, mate.
It's been really good to catch up.
I think we've been trying to get this squared away for ages, haven't we?
Yeah, years, hasn't it? Years.
Yeah. Yeah, but next time in town, mate, we'll do it again. I'm coming here for a brew or whatever. Yeah, and good luck with it, mate. Good luck with it.
Thank you very much.
You know, Joey the MOO Coach sounds great, and I'm sure it'll fly. And enjoy the remainder of your years in the military.
Yeah, very few. I hope I'd not put anyone to sleep with this voice of mine as well.
Right, cheers, Coach, cheers, Platinum patrons. Awesome. Let's knock it on the head.